You did the Good Morning Vietnam.
I know it's stupid too.
I left it in there. You like that?
I know. I didn't appreciate it at all, but oh well.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are the I Don't Drink Coffee podcast. This is episode number 10. And this episode is brought to you by BlacklineInsuranceGroup.com. Visit BlacklineInsuranceGroup.com. No, I messed up. Because it's not brought to you by BlacklineInsuranceGroup.com. It's brought to you by Blackline Insurance Group. What's up, everybody? This is the I Don't Drink Coffee podcast. This episode is brought to you by Blackline Insurance Group. Visit BlacklineInsuranceGroup.com.
Not a soul in the world would have known the difference.
I know.
Not
I
one
know.
soul except for you. But anyway, at least we got that done.
We got that done. And we have a special guest for our number 10 episode. His name is Elijah Lucas Underwood. Is it Lucas?
No.
I know.
Not even.
Not even close. Luke Underwood. We grew up together. We went to school together, graduated together, and in Wilburton, Oklahoma, way after this guy went to
You're going to let him.
Oklahoma.
This is what I want to know real quick. You're going to let him give that introduction, but you're not going to tell everybody what his full name is, since we're talking full names.
I mean, why you got to do that?
I'm asking the guest a question. That's all.
So have you formally introduced yourself on
Never.
the show?
Never has he.
Neither one of us have. Yes, I have. I've said I'm Ben Klein, and this is Lucas Johnson.
Yeah.
Anyways. So I remember when we were kids at Grace Russell Elementary, one of my first memories of Luke Underwood was him and a few other big strong boys of the class. After lunch, we would go outside, right? And at Grace Russell Elementary, there was these red bars. So a big contest every day was grab onto that red bar and see if somebody else could pull you off of it. Do you remember that?
No.
You don't remember that? I remember
the bars, but for this
no one
pole.
could ever pull Luke Underwood off those poles.
I'm
Nice.
trying to think of my first
Grade?
I don't know.
Kindergarten?
I don't know. It was always like, you've just always been around. I don't know, man. I can't think of the first time I was ever around you. I mean, I can think of some distinct memories, but I can't think of the first
Yeah,
time.
me too.
Well, we were even on the CERT team together, SWAT team, and guess who our breacher was? This guy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now I want to tell a funny story. I don't know. You know what I'm going to talk about?
Yeah, I've already thought about
So
it.
we're going. Israel decided he was going to get bear spray or pepper spray for just. Is this what you were going to talk about? Is this the story, or was there another story?
I think you're going down a different road than what I was thinking.
Okay, good, because you can tell that one
Okay.
next.
Okay.
So, they're like, all right. They always call me PETA, because I love animals and I don't shoot animals and I don't kill animals. I don't mistreat animals. So everybody's like, well, we got to get this pepper spray because of PETA over there, So that was like my nickname. So on this search warrant, there were dogs, right? And we do a briefing. We talk about everything. I mean, we go through a layout of the house and. Fences and trees and dogs and any kids or anything that could be there, we go over it, before we go out. And so there were going to be dogs here, right? So we got the pepper spray. And I'm like, okay, cool, we got pepper spray. And I'm thinking, I just hope these, no dog bites one of us, running up to the house. So we get there, we stack up, long story short. We stack up, and I think I was second in line, and Adam was in the front. I was second, and I think we had a team. What maybe 5 guys on this one, around that many.
Sounds right.
And so we stack up, and then we're sprinting to the house, right? And we get to the fence. We open the fence, and we're going through, and I'm looking around for these dogs, right? Well, there are some dogs there, all right. But I was under the impression there were some pit bulls, German shepherds, or whatever. No. There was like a Boston Terrier and a Chihuahua, and that was the gist. They were all little bitty dogs. Well, of course they're barking, and of course they run up to us and they're not trying to bite or anything. Well, Adam, he just sprays, right? He's just trying to get them out of our way. Well, the dogs didn't get pepper sprayed, okay? There was a little bit of wind, and the wind hit the pepper spray and knocked it in all of our faces. Every one of our faces. So we get on the porch, right? And we need to breach. We need to go in. I mean, it's critical that we, make entry. I mean, it's just part of it. And we were all coughing, choking. It about knocked us all down, right? And the highway patrol was assisting us, but they don't go in or anything. They just show up and whatever.
Because they don't want to get pepper sprayed.
Right.
Because they know you guys.
They
They're
don't
like,
want to get pepper
watch
sprayed.
this, dude. We're videoing. Watch these guys.
I wish he had video of this because it is one of the funniest things after it was all said and done. We finally went, everything was good. But after it was all said and done, all I could do was laugh so hard at what he saw. I'm putting myself in this OHP's, shoes, Highway Patrolman's trooper shoes, and what he saw. And it had to be the funniest thing he's ever seen in his whole entire life.
So did you guys get it done? I mean, were you able to get up and do the search warrant and all those things?
Come on, bruh.
Okay.
Of course we did.
So we did. And after we made entry into the house, we done our primary search, got everybody that we needed to in custody. While the whole time, not going into too much detail, but the whole time it was coughing and gagging.
The whole time.
On top of trying to tell people to get down, don't move, get down. Sheriff's office, it's gag, cough, gag. So once everybody gets secured, we got the perimeter set up. We're not feeling any threat no more. We think we got it under control. There's probably 5, maybe 6 of us, because there was only like 5 on our entry team, but then we had some people that done the perimeter. So, but anyway, in the yard, after we got, like I said, secured, there was probably 4 or 5 of us out there with snot and just stuff coming out of our mouths, and then we all hated Adam, because he sprayed the lap dogs with pepper spray, but he didn't. He sprayed. We all got the brood of it. So, yeah, I won't ever forget that. That was a bad. It's funny looking back at it now, but it wasn't. It was bad.
It was terrible.
Did the trooper say anything to you guys, like way to go with the pepper spray or anything?
I don't remember. I was gagging.
Was it weights?
I don't remember.
I think it was weights. We'll have to ask him at some point. So what story did you have?
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that I was the breacher when we were executing these search warrants, and we were doing a narcotics search warrant at an apartment complex just be south of the railroad tracks there in Wilburton. And it's actually upstairs. Ben, you may not have been there. I don't know. But anyway, so I was the breacher, and where I lined up when we stacked on the door, everybody stacked hinge side, but I went doorknob side because I had a breaching tool. So it's funny. For whatever reason, I can't remember now, but I didn't take the breaching tool that day or that night. So, like I said, we were in an apartment complex, not nothing fancy for sure. And anyway, so we done the knock and announce, sheriff's office search warrant, the knock and announce, the legal way to do it. And then I check door and it's locked. Well, I kick the door and it don't open. So I'm like, dadgum. So I back up against the railing and kind of get a 2 or 3 step drop kick at it. Well, when I do and I kick it, it flies open. And I'm way off balance. And I fall flat on my stomach and flat on my face in the entry of the door. And it was like one of them, it's like, you got them deals that pop up and you're supposed to hit them with a hammer, the little mallet. Yeah. That's what I looked like because I kept trying to get up, but there's 5 guys behind me trying to get in the house. So about the time I would get up and raise up, somebody would run over me and I would be back down. I would raise up, somebody would run over me, I'd be back down. Like 5 times until I finally got up. And then, we executed the search warrant. And then, after it was all said and done, everybody was like, you fell on your face. I said, yeah, I fell on my face, but that wasn't the bad part. The bad part was I couldn't get up because y'all just kept pushing me right back down. But anyway, that's the story that I thought you were going to go down.
No, there's so many stories, though.
Yeah.
So many stories of that stuff. I mean, you just never know what you're going to see, what you're going to run into, and what people are going to say. The one when we were on the porch, after we got pepper sprayed, this was before we made entry, right? Well, the person that was in the house was on the couch and talking to us through the window. She was like, "I'll open the door," and we were like, coughing and choking and telling her, "Don't move." She's like, I'll open the door," but we couldn't get in because our composure was lost.
Dude, this is like some kind of bad skit.
And she was like, "But I'll open the door," and I was like, "Don't move,"
We're about to kick your door in, lady. Shut up.
She's like, "But I'll open the door. Why are you guys just standing there? Because we're dying."
Thank God you didn't spray my dogs.
Yeah. Because she probably didn't know that we had.
Oh, I'm sure she had some idea of what was going on out there.
I bet she had no clue that we pepper sprayed ourselves.
Well, probably not. She knew something was wrong. Everybody's coughing and gagging.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she probably was I don't know, man.
I would like to profile Mr. Underwood just for a minute, though, and let people kind of get to know a little bit about him and those kind of things like that. I mean, of course, we know, but nobody else knows. Right. He's from our hometown, Wilburton, Oklahoma. And, he was a little bit of a local hero, celebrity guy back in the day. Well, I mean, you played some college football. And that was pretty cool. I mean, you don't see that every day from Wilburton. Not very many guys do that coming out of high school and that kind of stuff. And like you actually went and played. There's some guys that would get, some sort of scholarships or something like that, and they never actually would go play. But you actually spent some time playing, so. And actually saw the field versus red shirt.
An experience that not a lot of people get to experience, if that makes sense. So I'll backtrack just shortly, and then I'll catch it up real fast. So, I tell people that I'm basically born and raised in Wilburton, but I really wasn't. I was actually born in Farmington, New Mexico. My dad actually moved out to Farmington. Him and my mom and my sister moved to Farmington, New Mexico in 1980 or 81. Might have been 81. But anyway, so he was going to go out there to get a job for Amoco. So he moved to Farmington so he could get a job with Amoco. We weren't out there very long, but I was born out there, and then he got transferred back to Oklahoma to Watonga. And then we were in Watonga until 84, I believe, and then he got the opportunity to come back to Wilburton to transfer down here. So that's when we came back to Wilburton. So I went to. I never did go to school anywhere else other than Wilburton, and so. Last time I checked, and there might be somebody that may watch this later that can correct me, but at one time, I know it's when I was still playing high school football at Wilburton, I was the only third generation person to play football at Wilburton. My grandpa played there, my dad played there, and I played there. And still to this day, I don't know that there's anybody that's exceeded that. There might be somebody that's also a third generation, but I don't know that there's any fourth generation football
That's pretty
players.
awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I
That's
didn't know that
pretty cool,
either.
man.
Yeah, it was quite a deal, and I'm actually shocked that it has lasted this long, but I don't think that there's anybody that's gone past that, or even I don't even know that there's any other third generation football players at Wilburton. But anyway, that's just a little tidbit. So yes, I played football. From back then, it's not like it was, or not like it is today. We didn't have kindergarten flag football. I mean,
right.
We can go into that later too if you want to, because I got my thoughts on that. But anyway, when I entered high school, I never thought I was going to go play college football until about my junior year. And then I knew that I wanted to try to pursue it anyway to see what happened. So anyway, my senior year got here, and I had gotten a couple offers at some Division II schools. I went and visited them. I remember going on one visit to Miami. I think it was up at Miami at NEO. Me and my dad go up there, and we kind of get up there, and we're kind of looking around, and of course, we meet the coach, and he kind of shows us the weight room and stuff, which was awful. It was under the bleachers at the time, and it was just horrible. But anyway, when we got done, I looked at my dad, and I said, let's get the heck out of here. I said, this ain't no place for me. So anyway, make a long story short, I ended up walking on at Northeastern. They were one of the schools that did not offer me a scholarship. Didn't really know why I felt like I needed to go there, but for some reason I felt like I needed to go there. It wasn't like I knew a whole bunch of people there, nothing. Dwayne obviously done a short stint at Northeastern. But anyway, so I went there, redshirted my first year. The second year I was there, I was second team center. Trying to think. The third year I was there, I played starting left guard, and then the fourth year I moved out to quick tackle, and then I actually I guess technically I still have it, but I actually had one more year of eligibility, but I got my shoulder hurt. The first game of the year at Joplin, Missouri, I had actually hurt my left shoulder during the game. I went down on it, and I didn't know what happened. I just knew something was wrong. So I played the rest of the year with a brace on my left arm, which restricted me from only being able to move it about this much. And being on the left side of the line, you put your left hand on the ground. So I would get down to my stance, and I would be twisted like this because of this brace I had on. And it was uncomfortable. I didn't feel like I was able to maneuver the way I needed to maneuver. So make a long story short, I was kind of getting burnt out on it. I was kind of ready to come home. So I just considered that my last year, and the last home game I run out with the seniors, and they announced me as a senior and everything, but I technically had another year of eligibility, but then I come home. So, but yeah, it's a like Lucas said, not a lot of people get that opportunity to go play at the collegiate level, whether it be NAIA, junior college, Division I, 1AA, 2, Division III, whatever. So I felt like I was awful fortunate to get that opportunity. It cost me a lot of money, I finally paid off my student loan about 4 or 5 years ago, I think, or something like that.
Wow.
But anyway, it's they tell you, like I said, my first year I was a walk-on. Then after that I was a scholarship, but there's a lot of stuff that they don't pay for. Yeah. So I did not want to live in the dorms. I done one stint of that, and I was out on that. I said, dorm life's not for me. So I was on my own. I lived in my own apartment for a year, and then I moved in to a couple different houses with some roommates. And then my last semester there, Colby was actually going to school up there at the time, and then me and him got an apartment together for that one.
Colby Lowerman.
Yes.
Another
semester.
classmate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, what was your experience like? Okay, first I'd like to know, playing in college football. I've heard a lot of people say that it starts to be more like a job than it is in high school. Now, I'd like to talk about that first, and then maybe a little bit about competitively as far as like the level of play. You know what I mean? I'm sure there was a lot more competition or a lot more talent, I guess you'd say, at that level or whatever. But first, I'd like to see. I'm curious myself. I don't know about anybody else, but how were you treated as far as? I know you were walk on, but I mean, once you were actually playing, like you were a scholarship athlete, were you treated differently? I mean, by the coaches or anything like that? Or, I mean, did they push you in a certain way? Or
Well, obviously, to a small extent, you are treated a little bit different. So, to give you my experience, when my first year up there, you're pretty much the scout team, for the ones and twos. And you get the crap kicked out of you
Blocking
every snap of the football. But you got to think about this. You're some guys go to college and they're still 17. Luckily I was 18, but you got to think about it. My body was nowhere near developed like a 22-year-old senior,
right,
that had been lifting weights in college for 3 years. So you would see these people, and I know you know what I'm talking about, like these people that like don't belong. You see them get hit, and they like literally get elevated off the ground and backwards.
It's
and
not
you're
happening
like,
to you.
No, nothing like that ever happened. There was one, well, I take that back. There was one time that it happened, but it was because they caught me off guard. I wasn't like ready to take a blow. Yeah. And that did happen. And after it was over, I was mad, and then it was funny, But anyway, no, it's just like, you go up against somebody, like I said, 22-year-old linebacker that's, 6'3", 6'4", 245 pounds, and, he bench presses 400 pounds. And, when he hits you, you know it. I mean, it's not like I don't ever remember falling back and just, getting pancaked. But, I mean, I would, go down, just it's almost kind of like stun you, you get hit and you're just like, ugh, you can't, your body kind of loses control. And so you just kind of go down, it's just like, to an extent you're treated a little bit different.
Well, I mean, I understand that there's going to be this disconnect because you're new to it and that kind of thing like that. But I mean, I was always interested in that part of it where people are like, you kind of lose one reason why I'm curious is like, if my older boy gets the chance to play, I was kind of curious to talk to somebody that had been through it, and so I can kind of prepare him for, how they were going to act towards him or whatever.
Well, you definitely have to prove yourself. I will say that. You have to prove yourself. The coaches are going to be tough on you because they want to see what you've got. It's not that they're trying to be mean, but literally at the beginning of the year, there's a bunch of people out there, and they've got to find out who they need to spend time with and who they just need to push to the side, to be quite frank. So I told a guy a couple of years ago that was wanting to go play college football. He's like, "You think I can go play?" I said, "Yeah, I think you can go play if you do the right things. You got to show up for practice and you got to do your grades." I said, if you don't do that, you're going to struggle. Show up for practice. Make sure you're early. I was always early for practice. I was one of the first ones there.
How early?
Getting at least 30 minutes early. I would get there early. I'd be the first one on the tape table. They would tape me first. That's just how I was. I didn't lay around and wait till the last minute. So, but that's what I told him. I said, as long as your body something don't happen and you get a, threatening injury to your career, I said, you got the chance to go play. And I said, don't go expect to go up there and just start. I said, that's on a rare occasion that people do that, especially from a small school like Wilburton. Now, on an occasion, you will get somebody that's just a monster at 18 years old that come out of a Jinx or a Broken Arrow or a Norman or an Edmond Santa Fe or something like that. That they've been on an actual real lifting program since 8th or 9th grade, and they're ready to hit the field, but that's rare. But I told him, I said, and I'll tell anybody that, you show up and you put in your time and you show you care and you show you want to be there and you're not just there just to be there. I said, you've got a very good possibility of playing. Now, I can't say that you're going to be a 2 or 3 year starter, but you'll play. Most of the starters, when you get into college, most of the starters on either side of the football rarely, unless they're returners, see special teams as far as kickoff return, punt return, etc. Of course, the offensive line will be out there on extra points, but that's it. I mean, so they've got to have a lot of extra bodies, is what I'm saying, in skill positions and for special teams. You'll have second and third string linebackers, blocking on kick returns, and some of them, you see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So you'll get plenty of playing time. But I would encourage it. Don't ever, Lucas. You were talking about your son, I guess, Gavin. Mm-hmm. My advice to him is, if he needs to really think about whether that's his decision that he wants to make. Yes, I want to do it. My advice to him would go somewhere where you think you can be comfortable, and don't get distracted. Focus on going to class and going to your sport. Going to class and going to your sport. And I'm not saying don't have a good time when you're in college. Lord knows I did. Had too good a time, but.
Can we go into that?
Yeah, we probably could. But anyway, my advice, Lucas, like I said to him, is find a place where you can be comfortable. Things change, life happens, but he just really needs to make up his mind and in his heart, yes, I want to go try to play football or whatever the sport is. And don't jump the gun. Don't go to the first place and he thinks he falls in love with it.
Yeah.
Make sure you look around. I went to like 4 or 5 different schools before I felt I needed to go to Northeastern.
Well, see, that's when I talked to him about it. I remember when he was young. Of course, he wanted to play past high school. You know what I mean? When he's in junior high, he's talking to me about it. He wants to play and everything. And I'm like, look, I give him all the advice. If you want to play past high school, you got to do things that other people aren't willing to do. If you want to be like everybody else, you want to fit in and all those kind of things like that, then you'll be done. Your last game of high school, that'll be all you got. But if you want to play college, you got to keep that in mind. And he was young to really kind of focus on that. But at the same time, I was real with him about, there's a different mindset that goes with it. You can't just show up and at practice. If the only practice you ever get is at practice, you won't go past high school. And I was real careful to tell him that because I knew some really exceptional athletes. I've known several, and they could have done something with the God-given ability that they had, but they were always, football was like, well, when it's football time, it's football time, but when it's not, I'm just hanging out or whatever, and I let him know it can't be that way. If you've got dreams going past it, well, as he's gotten older and now he's getting real, he started as a freshman here in McAllister and that kind of thing like that. And it showed him he was always, I guess you'd say, a little faster or something like that than the kids in his grade a lot of times. And I'm not trying to brag on him too much. I'm just saying he kind of got used to that. Being, the top guy. And then whenever he came in as a freshman, all of a sudden I'm like, listen, you can play against some kids that are 18 years old. You're 14. Get ready, and he learned there's a lot of difference between 18 and 14 years old,
Definitely.
And the coaches talk to me about it, because everybody that's a grown man understands the difference. You know the difference between that. But now that he's a junior, fixing to be a junior, he's like, it's not just something that's a guarantee. He does well, but it's not, well, I want to go to college and play football, so I automatically will get to. It's a dream it's got to be a focus, like you said. It's got to be something you got to be looking for, not just something that falls in your lap, unless you're just a crazy freak.
Right. You're going to have to make there's certain sacrifices that you have to do. And really, that's not just in football. That's also in life. To be successful, you're going to have to make sacrifices, and you're going to have to do with or without something. Not to dwell too much on my past, but just for an example, and like I said, I done a lot of things when I was younger that I regretted, but I knew my senior year, because we didn't have quite the junior year that I thought we needed, and I made a promise to myself that during football season I was going to focus on football, and that meant extracurricular activity. Now, you can't force other people into having your same mindset, but I did my senior year, and I knew that I was going to try to go play college football, and I wanted to have a better senior year than we had junior year, and I just knew that it was going to take sacrifice. So I didn't consume alcohol or nothing during football season, and I worked really hard actually between my junior year and my senior year. And actually, my dad because I would go up to I lost about 40 pounds between my junior and senior year. But I was going up to the track at night, and I would run and lift. And I remember my dad questioning me one time, like, "Are you really going? Where are you going?
Where are you
and
going
I was like,
at night?"
I'm going to the track, and I'm gonna run, and I'm gonna lift weights." Oh, really? I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Is that where you've been going?" I said, "Yes." It's like he didn't believe me.
Right. He just wanted to confirm.
Yeah. He's like, so anyway. I put in that effort. Like you said, there are just kids out there that have a God-given ability and physique, and they can do whatever they want and still walk out there and play. I wasn't that person. I had to actually work harder. I was not the strongest person on the field. I wasn't the fastest person on the field. I had to rely on learning my nickname in college was the technician, because I was technically sound in what I did. I wasn't, like I said, my senior year I played at 6'2", 270 pounds, and playing quick tackle, and I went up against guys that were 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds, 320 pounds, 285 pounds, but I was guys that could outlift me any day of the week in the weight room. I never was just some animal in the weight room, but I was technically sound, and that's, you learn that as your position goes on. You'll learn your footwork and your hand positioning and leverage and how to execute a block on somebody that's maybe a better athlete than you, but you got the upper hand on them because you got technique. It's just like arm wrestling. I've been watching arm wrestling lately. I don't know how I brought that up, but anyway. You watch that.
True though, yeah.
It is. It's like I see guys that are just like bodybuilders, and they get up there with these big arms, and then these guys with these little noodle arms get up there, and they're like, they can't move them. I'm like, holy crap, it's all about technique.
If anybody came up to me and said, "Listen, one of your classmates has been watching arm wrestling lately. Can you guess which one it would be?" I'd be like, Luke Underwood.
So anyway, that's why I'm just using that as a reference. It's just.
Right.
Well,
it's part of it.
That's why fundamentals were developed. That's
right.
That if you without them, like you said, you get beat 9 out of 10 times.
Right.
I've been big on it both my boys' lives. As far as them playing ball and that kind of thing like that. I'm like, dude, we can't do anything until you know how to do it.
If you would have passed John Stark on the sidewalk, would you have looked over and said, "That's one heck of a basketball player right there"? No. Yeah. John Stark didn't even look like a basketball player,
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's knowing that I do a lot of thinking about it, of course, because I'm in that position where I'm, my son's – I'm not saying he's going to go play college football. I don't mean that. But, when the conversation comes up, I never even I never even took football serious in school. So, I understand some of the concepts of it, but – trying to make him understand the mentality that it takes is just, I'm using things I've learned in I guess you'd say everyday life and applying them to that, because I think those kind of things go back and forth. We talked about it on here before, how, football specifically for me, but a lot of sports apply in other ways in your life. You can take the things you learn there and stick them into your life and make things work. So, that, to me, it's an important thing. That's why I was curious to get your take on it. I know that I mean, I can't speak to your ability or non-ability necessarily. I didn't know about, how you were as far as, I mean, you were obviously good enough to go play. So, I mean, your words carry weight in that instance. You know what I'm saying? So was it hard to stay focused when you were in college as far as, I'm off on my own?
I mean, there were some distractions.
I mean, I'm sure there's probably been times that you may have, probably should have turned right, you turned left as far as, those kind of things. But I mean,
well, you were at the partying capital of the partying college, like top 10 at that time? Wasn't it like top 10 in the country?
I don't.
So yeah, I mean,
I know.
don't remember.
I went up there and visited when you were up there.
Yes, you did.
And I can attest that I don't know about where it ranked, but there were plenty of partying. How would you say that?
So,
like places you could go.
I need to say this, and I was going to say it, but I wanted it to be on here so that other people could hear me say it to Ben, other than just me and Ben. Maybe it means something more to him. I don't know.
Oh gosh, why me?
So, well, I kind of owe you an apology. I really do, because when we were in high school, I don't know how Ben did it. I honestly don't. Now, for the record, I'm not the person I used to be, okay? I'm not the person I used to be, thank God. But I used to partake in consuming large amounts of alcohol. And my junior and senior years of high school particularly. And Ben was always at the parties, always. But he never drank. And I didn't make fun of Ben being mean to him, but I used to make fun of him. I'd be like, get jacked up on that Mountain Dew, ain't you, Ben? That kind of stuff.
Yes, you did.
I did that a lot. I mean, like every time I would see Ben, he'd have like a Mountain Dew and
no Mountain Dew.
Well, whatever it was. Yeah. So it wasn't alcohol, is what I'm trying to say. So I'd be like, oh, you're getting jacked up on whatever he was drinking, and I just don't understand how he did it, because now looking back, I can't stand drunk people. I can't stand them. I mean, I don't even want to be 150 yards within a drunk person, because I can't stand. There are a few people that get under the influence of alcohol and they're funny, but for the most part, in general, most drunks are so cotton picking annoying. And I don't know how you did it. I know I had to been annoying. But Ben was always at all the parties and stuff, and he never drank. But it seemed like I always made fun of him because he didn't drink, and that was a wrong thing to do.
No.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, I mean,
it is. It was a wrong thing to do, and I apologize for that, Ben. Because now looking back, well, I know I didn't, but I did. And now looking back, and knowing, I'll be 38 Tuesday. I was like, geez. That was, because here's the deal. I got a 13-year-old daughter, and I want to kill somebody if they try to make fun of her because she's not drinking.
Right.
I mean, I want to kill them.
Yeah.
So now I have that perspective. I'm like, ain't nobody going to make fun of my kid because they ain't going to drink at no party, you know? I mean, that's how I feel now.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know I didn't do it in meanness to you.
No,
Ben,
you didn't.
But I did make fun of it.
And I never took it from anyone as mean.
But I shouldn't have done it, because looking back, like I said now, that you shouldn't make fun of somebody. You should have been making fun of me because I was an idiot.
Well, a lot of it has to do with Ben's closet homosexuality,
right?
And he knew if he drank, then he'd end up spilling the beans on that. So consequently, he's made it this far and never drank,
and never told anybody about it.
Keeps that secret intact. That's all he's been trying to do this whole time.
Well, I've done a lot of.
Thanks for telling everybody.
I've had my share of doing a lot of things that I'm not proud of.
Well, same here.
But
of course,
I can say, and not saying that it's any better, any worse, but I can say that alcohol has been the worst thing that I've ever put in my body, and I'll go to my grave being able to say that. But it was, we were talking about the college life and stuff. It was hard. I mean, it wasn't hard not to do it. It was hard because everybody in college, it seemed like they smoked, and you were like, oh my gosh, you smoke too? You know, you think you find somebody that doesn't smoke freaking pot, and you find out the next night they smoke pot, and you're like, golly, can I not have a friend that doesn't smoke pot? You know, I mean, it was just like, my gosh. And it was, you know, so to be social, you have to be around it. I never smoked marijuana. I've never done any drug, you know, but I was around it. And then, you know, they would look at me and like try to hand it out. No, I'm out on that, you know, drink my Busch Light, you know, but y'all can have all that you want. So talking about distractions and stuff while in college, yeah, it's definitely there. I think there's a certain level of distractions in most colleges. You've got to, and you can tell this to Gavin, wherever he decides to go, you need to make sure that. And I'm not saying, you know, a guy smokes a joint, he's a horrible person and he's going to hell. I'm not trying to say that. But my wish for my kids is I want them to find good people to hang around with. I want them to be friends with good people. I don't want them to be friends with people that aren't good people. So, you know, my dad never come out and told me that, which I think he already knew that I wasn't going to hang around a bad crowd.
Right.
You know, but I pray that my kids, you know, when they grow up and they go through middle school and they go through high school and they go through college, if they decide to go through college, that they find groups of people that are, now not to say that these people aren't going to make a mistake here and there.
Right.
You know, nobody's perfect, but I want them to surround themselves with good people that have morals and know right from wrong. And so that's what I would say. I didn't ever get in with a bad crowd or nothing. I kind of knew what crowds I needed to hang out with and which ones I just needed to keep at a distance. And that's really what you got to do at college. You really just got to make sure that you put yourself around some better people that you can relate with, that you can talk to and you can kind of be buddies with, and y'all can, you know, there was a group of us, and this is kind of giving a Colby story away, and I don't know if his dad wants you to know this or wants anybody to know this, or I don't know if Colby wants his dad to know this, but anyway, I'm going to say it anyway. So we were off on Mondays of practices. We didn't practice on Mondays during football season. That was our day off. We came in on Sundays after the games, and we would have to do conditioning and film and stretching and whatever. So Mondays was our free day. So every Monday there would be about 5 or 6 of us. We would all load up and we would go eat somewhere. 90% of the time it was either Muskogee or Tulsa. Well, Colby was my roommate, okay? And he actually had a job at the school. Well, on Mondays it was real convenient for him to have to call in saying he couldn't be at work because he wanted to go with us to go eat. So Colby's stint at Northeastern was short. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but it was really short. Colby's stint at Northeastern, I think, was 1 semester. And then he come back, and I think he ended up going to Southeastern. But back to hanging around the wrong crowd. Colby, we weren't a bad influence on him.
Were you kind of the wrong crowd for him?
Well, we didn't force him. He'd be like, so are y'all going to eat today? We're like, yeah, it's Monday, isn't it? All right, let me call in. You know, it's like, Colby, you have to work. You have to go to school. You know, you've got to. It'll be all right. They don't need me, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, and to touch base on Colby a little bit, he was probably – if not the smartest, but one of the smartest kids in our class.
Yeah, he definitely was one of the smartest kids in the class behind Jonathan, of course,
and DJ.
Yeah, and Dale and Manish.
Oh yeah, Manish.
You guys are like stacking them on. Well, maybe he was middle of the pack. Well, I'm not real sure.
Here's the difference between those and Colby. Is Colby he was the dude that was always around having a good time with everybody.
Yeah.
And those other kids we just mentioned, they were not around having a good time with everybody.
Yeah.
You know. I was always around having a good time with everybody. I didn't drink, but I was always, when I tell people I never drank or don't drink or whatever, they go, "Are you Mormon?" I'm like, "No, I'm not against it." People were like, "Well, you're not going to be cool to hang out with." I'm like, "Dude, I have just as good a time as anybody else, but." Well, maybe not. They go, no. If you never drank, you're not having a good time.
Well, that's
like
debatable,
everybody.
but
go ahead. Anyway, so Kobe would call in.
Yeah, he would call in on our Monday to go eat, and he would load up and go eat with us. So I kind of think that had a lot of influence in him not lasting very long at Northeastern, and his grades kind of slipping, but. Anyway, really don't know how I got off on that. But
for Gavin, you want him to find people that are good.
Find.
Surround yourself with good people.
Yes.
Well, and to your point, like you were talking about what you'd like to see for your kids and those kind of things. I've noticed Gavin, his group of friends, and everybody does this, from junior high to now. Has changed. You know what I mean? And I think you kind of find your people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because he's always played ball a lot. Well, at one time he was hanging around with some guys that didn't really play, and I was kind of like,
Isn't it funny though? Like, it doesn't stop in school. Like when you graduate as a senior, you're like, you think that your best friends in high school are still always going to be your best friend, and they may,
right?
But
I've
it's
told him
different.
The same thing.
It's different. It's just like. It's almost even like you don't even have a best friend anymore. You know,
well,
what I mean? It's like life.
You're not prepared for it. I mean, life is so much different than high school, even college.
But y'all are together so much. Your friends, whoever they may be, you're always together in high school. And you're out in the summer, and then you're back together again for 9 months, and then graduation comes, and then everybody just kind of goes their own way, and it's just like. Man, the guy I thought was my best friend in high school, I hadn't talked to in 3 years. And at 38 years old, and you're just like, I'd have never thought that.
And then when you talk to them, it's like you never really.
Yeah, when like if it's several years and you go back and you connect with them, you're like, wow, we don't really have that much in common anymore.
Why were we friends?
Yeah. Well, I always think that guy sucks and I'm awesome. Why did I hang around with that dude? I do it to Ben all the time.
I never really think that way though. Really, it's just like when I talk to people that I haven't talked to in a long time that I was really close to. It's just like you just pick up like where you left off, and it's like those 3 years or 5 years or whatever really never passed by.
I've got some guys that I hung out with after high school that I got that way with. Once you start working and you start living life where you're not a kid or whatever, I got some friends there that I can do that with. Chris Turner, guys like that I can walk in a room and we'll take off like we just talked 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Now that I do. Some of the high school people, it's more like, so what have you been up to?
Who are you again?
I've been doing this and this. And yeah, it's hard, and that's what I think that I was worried about Gavin. I think about, I'm sure every parent does, about all the time about, well, I don't want to interfere in his life too much, but I do think about, oh God, how good a job did we do? And I'm always watching and evaluating. He doesn't even know this. He's probably going to listen to this now. But I do sit there and I think, okay, let's see what he's going to do here, or I might give him some advice on something that I see coming. And used to, he kind of would blow me off sometimes, but he's been hit in the face enough now with some things because I got a whole bunch of stuff of what not to do. You know what I mean? I got a ton of
personal experience.
Yeah, of instances to go, dude, don't do it this way, and this is why, because this is about to happen to you. And when it does, don't take this path, because I already know where this one goes. I don't know where another one goes, but this one goes this way, and you do not want to follow that.
Right.
So he's getting better about it, and he finds people. It's not as life's different. I was worried about it too, because high school life now is so much different than high school life that I knew. Since cell phones and those kind of things like that, it's hard to relate. You talk to these kids, even in a group, and there's some things that is universal about high school boys, especially, that you're like, oh, I recognize this behavior. Everybody's talking about girls and everybody's farting on each other and all this kind of crap like that, But then there's also this element of communication these guys have that make me not worry so much, man. I mean, and I've said this before, there comes a point where I'm like, in my own life, I can't speak for everybody else, but I watch my kids and things aren't going that bad. I mean, like you said, he's going to find his people or whatever, and he does a pretty good job of hanging out with people that aren't too bad. I mean, he's had his moments, but it's not as I don't know, man. I mean,
learning how to be a good judge of a character is a trait that is very valuable. Very valuable. I
don't know if you can learn that. I think that's just instilled.
I kind of feel like I feel like if I can be around somebody for about 5 minutes, I can kind of judge them pretty quick to where their character's upstanding or it's not. And that's just what you got to do. I mean, you really my dad didn't involve himself in my life, and I know that he knew that I was doing things that I didn't need to be doing, but he never said a word to me.
Really?
Because I think that he knew, I knew right from wrong.
Yeah.
He didn't agree that I was consuming the amounts of alcohol that I would consume because it was proof in the back of my truck every night almost.
Right.
But he never.
You think he went outside and looked in the back of your truck just to see?
Oh, I don't know, but I mean, walked by it. He had to see it.
You don't ever talk to him about it now? Like, hey,
no, he's not an idiot. You know what I mean? No. He's not a dummy.
No,
he knows.
No,
I mean,
right.
He knows what it's like to be a high school boy.
But he never. It's hard because I mean he never said anything to me about it. Just like and I knew I disappointed him a lot. Looking back on it now, but back on being a good judge of character, I don't ever feel like I ever put myself around a bad crowd of people that I was going to get in serious trouble.
Right.
I was going to do something that was going to really haunt me and I was going to regret for the rest of my life. Of course, I consumed a lot of alcohol and I was behind the wheel a lot of that time, and I do regret that.
Of course.
But I mean, I didn't rob nobody. I didn't burn nobody's house. I wasn't that type of person. And this all goes back to kind of what Lucas was talking about and how kids are different. It's kids, and I'm sure that our parents say this about us, but there's a difference in being ornery and being disrespectful. Mm-hmm. And kids are disrespectful. I remember our class was not perfect. No way. We were ornery, but we weren't disrespectful. Right. I don't think.
No.
Kids today are just flat out disrespectful. And I don't know how you cure that. I don't know what you do to try to change the minds of kids these days to understanding. I mean, but I've always felt that for about the last 10 years, I've really felt that. I've really felt, kids are just downright disrespectful. And not just ornery. Oh, that kid was ornery when he was in school. Yeah, right. I was ornery.
Yeah.
We had a lot of ornery kids. But I never told a freaking teacher that to shut up or, cussed at a teacher. I didn't do that.
No.
And I don't remember anybody in my class where I was around. I mean, I was around orneriness, and I don't remember a kid in our class cussing at a teacher. I mean, that's a normal thing now. It's just like I cussed over teacher so-and-so. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
they can do less too, the teachers now, than they could back when we were.
You're right.
You're
exactly right.
If you say anything or if you touch a kid or whatever, like I said, I hit my kindergarten teacher. I hit Miss Mooney in the back of the head with a book, and it was 10 seconds later, and I was getting paddling in the hallway. And I didn't mean to. That I did not mean to. I was not paying attention. I was just spinning around with the book.
Yeah,
two
but
books in my hand,
you do that now, and you're sitting in the office and you're having an hour and a half conversation about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paul, why did you do that? What was
This
Paul?
is my favorite episode.
What were
by
you
far and away already?
What were you thinking when you threw that book at your teacher?
Yeah.
Are you angry, Paul?
Yeah.
Paul, did you eat breakfast this morning?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you'll get for an hour and a half trying to figure out
and then
why
go
this
back to
kid
class.
has anger issues instead of busting his
Right.
butt.
And then go back to class like nothing happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, your mom, you lost your mom in 5th grade?
6th grade.
6th grade. And I wanted to talk about her a little bit because she was one of the nicest people. And I'm not saying that just because, it's your mom and she's not here anymore. She was one of the nicest people I've ever met. She always made it a point to talk to me. She was there when I sang Garth Brooks at the Fall Festival. and they messed up. What was
Is there any video of this?
Yes, there is video.
Could you
but,
just
here's what happened.
Put that in the corner of the screen right here?
I don't want to get... here's what happened. The tape, it's a tape of a lot of songs on it, and it's just background music, So I can't remember.
I love
It's
this
Davis.
story, dude.
Davis, was he the one that was always there? That was working the... Okay.
Remember.
Yeah. So anyways, this guy was
The
always
talent
there.
show at the Fall Festival.
Talent show at the Fall Festival in Wilburton, Oklahoma, Roberts Cave State Park. And he takes a pen, and I remember I handing my tape. Okay, it's right on the money. And he's over there, and he's rewinding the tape to the front, right? So he rewinds it, and have I talked about this already on the podcast?
No.
So he puts the tape in the tape deck, right? And he's not the DJ. He's just the guy that gets everybody lined up, ready to go. So I hand him my tape, and I remember looking over at him, and he's like, and I'm like, oh gosh, no, right? So the song starts. I'm supposed to be singing "Friends in Low Places." Now listen, I have to tell you something.
How old were you?
I had to be. I mean, it was younger than 6th grade, so I had to be around 10 or 11, I think.
Singing Friends in Low Places.
Singing Friends in Low Places. But here's the thing with that. No one talked me into that. That was just all on my own. I remember getting the tape. I was like, hey, we need to get a tape. I remember getting the tape, and I just practiced the song on my own, Of course, my mom was like, oh, yeah, you're going to do so good. And then I get up there, and the dance by Garth Brooks plays. The piano, how the piano? And everybody in the audience was like, all right. I remember it's on video. People were pumped up that I was going to sing the dance.
And then Ben gets lockjaw.
Oh, I did. It threw me completely off. Now, I have to say, before this tape gets, before this tape surfaces, before this video surfaces, and I don't know if it'll ever will or not, but I have to say right now that I could have did a way better job. I had the ability to do a way better job, but it completely threw me off. Okay, it completely threw me off. I had to go back. I had to go back to this was all on video. I had to walk back to the DJ, and we had to sit there and hit stop, rewind, stop, play, rewind, or play fast forward or whatever it was to finally get to the song. And then now it's all over. It's just like it was just. So, anyways, but I remember your mom, because she knew what happened. She was there. And she came up to me, and she praised me and was like, "Oh, you did great." And I just remember your mom, like even in the school hallways, or whatever. She always made a point to talk to me, and I learned from that, and I'm still not great at it by no stretch of imagination, because I still have this weird feeling that sometimes people don't want me talking to their kids. It's like nowadays in time, you got to be careful what you do. So it's hard for me, like my baseball boys and football and all that, the parents and stuff I'm good friends with, and I know them real good. I talk to them, of course, no hesitation. But a lot of times when people's kids are around me, I just kind of standoffish, and I'm like, you know what? And I'm not making this up, but I always think about, your mom and how she made me feel when I was a kid, because other people's parents in our grade, not to say they were, I'm sure they're a lot like me. They just didn't really conversate or converse with the kids, with us. So a lot of people's parents in our grade didn't, make me feel like your mom always made me feel. She always would, "Oh, you're such a good singer, Ben. Don't ever stop." Just didn't, because I'd always be like, "They messed up," and she's like, "Don't let that," So, but in 6th grade, I guess. You lost your mom.
Yes.
And that was to lupus, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, how long had she been sick before? I remember. I knew that she had been sick, right?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when she was diagnosed with it. It was. I don't even know, honestly. I just remember going to a lot of doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
Which in today's technology, women have lupus now, and there's people that have it and I didn't even know they had it.
Right.
The technology and stuff that has changed since 1994,
Yeah.
is unbelievable in that field. But yeah, it was. If you've ever been around somebody, which, like I said, I can't say now because I still know it takes a toll on their body, but I was able to see it before today's technology and medicines and treatments that women can do. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible disease. It almost. I mean, there was times when, my mom was going through chemotherapy and stuff, and it was just awful. It was literally awful, and just like cancer, lose your hair, and she would have wigs and stuff. And I remember a couple times her going through that. But like I said, I know today that it's a lot better. There's still not a cure for it,
right?
Of course, but I guess it's just kind of like cancer. I mean, there's better treatments today for it. But yeah, kind of getting off that, and yeah, she was a very special person.
Yes,
and,
she was.
Two things I'll say about it is, after being in my upper 30s now and looking back, I've thought about this over the last few years, and it makes me sad, really, to think of the kids that grow up that maybe have a mom but they're absent or don't even have a mom or dad, because there's a special place for each one in your life.
Yes.
And looking back, this is the God's honest truth. I honestly feel this way, that, and I'm not angry about it by no means, but there's 2 times in my life where I have really looked back and thought, man, I really needed my mom then. And that was my middle school years, which it was junior high then, it's middle school now, but things change and people change, and you start experiencing a lot of things, and as a boy, you don't want to go up and ask your dad. You'd be like, but you would ask your mom, and just different things. So that was a time in my life when I look back when I really wished that she was around. And then, of course, when you have kids, and you start having kids, because there's a lot of unknowns. You're getting into territory that you've never been, and dads have a great position there too, but they're not a mom,
right?
So me losing my mom at an early age, I look back and I realize that now. But then again, it makes me also think about the kids that don't even have parents at all or an absent mom. I know their struggle, so I kind of have empathy for them.
Yes.
Because I've been there, and I've had 3 girls.
Well, you're still there.
Yeah. That didn't have, a grandma. They got one, of course, Susan, Brandy's mom, but I didn't give them one,
right.
So anyway, like I said, just looking back, those are 2 times in my life when, from the time I was 12 till 38, I look back and I was like, those are 2 times in my life when I really, really could have used my mom.
Yeah.
But she was a very special person. She was heavily involved in her kids. Me and my sister. She was, and she was something else. I remember. Were you in my class? I don't know if you were in my class or not, but I think it was 4th grade when we still lived in town.
Who'd you have?
Miss Wofford.
No, I had Miss Cook.
Okay. Well, we actually, you wouldn't do this today, but we actually had a volleyball net in our backyard when we lived in town, and we lived 3 or 4 blocks from from the school on
Now, did y'all
Durant Street.
Did y'all go play volleyball?
Yeah, we went
Yeah, I remember
during
that.
school. We took an hour
I
out
was
of
not
school,
happy about it.
and we walked down there. We walked to my house, and we played volleyball. And I think we even
Birthday
ate.
party, right? Your birthday or something?
I don't remember what it was, but I remember going down there and we played volleyball and we ate and stuff. You know, you wouldn't do that today. You know, kid, oh, we ain't going to nobody's house. You know,
Right.
School would be like, oh heck no, we got to do a 10-week investigation on whether or not these kids can come to that house. But anyway, we did it. She was always involved in ways like that. Like I said, she was a very
No,
very
she
special
drove.
person.
Yes, she was. She drove that. Was it a Mitsubishi van?
That was a Toyota van.
It's a Toyota van. I remember.
Yeah,
it was
that had the engine underneath
yeah.
the seat.
I was like,
Yeah,
this is so awesome.
I remember when my mom and dad bought that car.
Wasn't it gold?
It was.
gold?
Yeah, it was kind of a gold-looking,
Yeah.
tan, brown. It was weird color, but yeah, you actually set out. The driver's
Yeah.
seat was actually
Over the
like
wheel.
over the front wheels. It was. I can't remember what those are called, but those were a Toyota. But I remember they come over here at McAllister and bought it at Cosalina Car Corral. I'll never forget it because I come over here when they drove it and bought it. And that was a weird van, but we drove that thing everywhere.
Everywhere.
We drove that thing everywhere.
It was cool though, because no one else had.
Oh yeah, it like had sunroof and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff in it, but it was ugly. Gosh, it was ugly.
So, did you in college? Did you have? Was your coaches were they a pretty good role model, or were they involved at all? Do you have any contact with any of the coaches that you?
No, that's a little different at the college level.
Well, yeah,
I'm not going
because-
to say they don't care about you, but
They care about you less.
yeah,
Well, that's
They
their
don't know you.
livelihood. I mean, they want to win football games. That's the only thing they care
yeah.
about, period.
It's different. The coaches at the college level, I say the college. I can't speak for other colleges. I can only speak for the college that I went to and the coaches that were there when I was there. And of course, they don't have to have a connection to you, really. Other
Right.
than the 3 or 4 years you're there with them, they don't. I mean,
Well, you just think as a coach, you're at a partying coach, or a partying college. You know that everyone's going to be partying really hard. So you as a coach, you kind of got to keep your athletes in line a little bit.
No, they don't.
Really?
Because they want you out of there. If you can't think about this, man.
you can't handle
that's
it
like I laugh whenever people
outside-
talk about
off of
home
the
field
field.
advantage in college and in professional sports. I'm like, what's home field advantage? Nobody's at home. You know what I'm saying? You're not
Yeah.
playing on the football field you played on for the last 4 years. You're playing. Nobody's at home. So that kind of thrown out the window once you get to that level.
Right.
I mean, I feel like you're, especially a college athlete. I mean, they're expecting you to take care of your grades on your own. Come to class, come to practice, go to workouts. I mean, those guys can't. The reason you get these scholarships is because those are for the guys they don't have to go chase. Unless you're a freak like Adrian Peterson or somebody like that, Adrian Peterson can't even walk through a door without bumping his head, but he's so good that people are like, we better go find Adrian Peterson, find out where he's at. I mean, but I mean, I could see it on a level of just watching, like when I go to football camps and I've watched Bob Stoops, for instance. They got no problem with Bob Stoops. He's an excellent coach. But I mean, watching him interact, even with little kids, dude, he's not good at it. You know what I'm saying? He's not a people person. He's
Right.
not warm. He's not inviting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's it's all business. You know what I'm saying? He's got a very specific schedule in his mind.
Yeah, but
I'm
when they go
sure.
recruit, they got to have some kind of warmness to them. You need a break.
What does he need warmness for? He's got national championships. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he walks in there going, look, we want you in our program. We win a lot. It's the winningest program in the nation.
You think that's how it works?
Yes. Yes, we want you there. Do you want to come? If you don't, we'll go to the next guy's house. That's the way, I mean, to me, that's what college would be. If I was a college coach, I'd be thinking on that level, Plenty of kids out there with the same dream as you. So do you want to in here or do you not?
So let's switch to kids in flag football and little league football and stuff. Let's switch to that and how you feel about, when I put Kason into, he started tackle football last year, 3rd grade. His first year you can do it. Actually, you can do it in 2nd grade. You can be put on a 3rd grade team, but he was not ready. But it kind of snuck up on me because I was like, oh gosh, he's going to third grade. He can play now. So I had the big question to everybody. I talked to everybody. I talked to coaches. I talked to a coach at an OU game. Like I was sitting right next to, I think he coached in Durant. And I asked him, I said, when do you think, these kids should start playing football? And I get a different answer.
You mean start playing tackle
football? Yes. So what do you said earlier about the flag football, and don't get you started on that. So what do you feel about the kindergarten flag football?
I think it's ridiculous.
You do?
Yes. That's just me. Now don't.
Right.
You're gonna get hate mail now.
Well,
so in my personal opinion, I think that kids probably should start playing flag football at 4th and 5th grade, and they should start getting incorporated into pads in 6th grade. And honestly, 6th grade's kind of one of those borderline years, in my opinion. Obviously, middle school, junior high, which, of course, now that's 6th grade. But I think that's the time when they really need to incorporate the full pad, full contact. Just start learning the concept of everything at a younger age. But I still think 3rd grade's, in my opinion, is too young. I would feel more. I mean, if I had a kid right now, a son that was going to play football, I would not let him play until he was in 4th grade, and it wouldn't be tackle football.
The problem with flag football I've learned is they don't really teach you much about football. It's just
give it to the fastest kid, tell him to take off running.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
So that's a problem. Because they don't, when they come from flag to regular football, they don't. It's not even the same game. It's not even the same sport.
Well, and it's the same thing in t-ball and coach pitch. I mean, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, I've coached both of my daughters now. Hope's first year playing t-ball, and I coached her this year, and I've always coached Reese. It's unbelievable to me. The kid. I mean, as long as I can remember, I could smoke the ball off the tee. I don't ever remember ever not being able to just knock the crap out of that ball off the tee. And there are kids that get up there and they can't hit. They hit the tee, strike out. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but you were the kid. You were the kid that was like a gamer. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, and I remember that about you. I mean, when we had a lot of those in our grade and our age, but you don't see that too many times anymore. Anytime you see a little kid that's a gamer that is just involved and wants to win and is going to swing the bat hard and hit the ball every time and can go to each sport and just compete and hates losing.
Yeah,
it's few and far between.
But here's what and I'm hard on my kids, and I know I am, and I'm probably harder on them than I should be. But here's what I want. I want the kid that's out there that's doing it without having to be yelled at by their parent or
right.
coach. That's what I want.
Yes.
I want the kid on the team that has it without being told.
Right.
That's what I want.
That's a gamer to me.
Yes, that's a gamer. And I don't remember my dad having to yell and scream at me
right.
when I played ball to, run fast or, hit the ball or, focus or, I just remember being – I think I started playing t-ball when I actually know I started a year early because they needed a coach, and my dad said the only way he was going to coach is if I got to play. So they let me play. So I played an actual year earlier than I was supposed to. But, this just –
sports these days is a lot different than it was back in the when
there's
we were kids.
The mentality that's looked at, it's kind of an old school way of looking at things. I mean, I was kind of raised not necessarily towards sports, but just towards life a certain way. And that's carried on with my boys when they started playing ball. And that way of looking at things is not common anymore. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and you could say it about parents being involved or however you want to say it, but the mentality towards aggressive behavior is like.
Okay, so this just hit me. Perfect example, Lucas. So when we were growing up, parents would look at you like, you mean you don't give your kid a whooping? Yeah. And now it's you look at, you mean you whoop your kid?
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference in today's society is You whoop your kid? You actually take your belt off and whoop them?
Yeah, you can get in trouble now.
And when I was a kid, it was the parents that didn't whoop their kid. The other parents were like, "You need to jerk your belt off and give that kid a butt whooping.
Yeah.
What you need to do."
Well,
But that's how things have changed.
when we were kids, if the parent didn't go over there and give their kid a butt whooping, the other parent might
Was
do
it-
it.
or at least threatening to do it.
Exactly. And that's really how it went down.
Yeah,
It's
things are different.
Now,
We're living in a different world, and it's ever changing.
Now, you've helped coach Wilburton football the last couple years, right?
Yes.
Now, when we were in high school and junior high and stuff, were there a lot of our parents that went to our practice? Now, I didn't play football, so I played, basketball and baseball, and nobody's parents really went to our practices. Do you see that now? Like in Wilburton, I know in McAllister, a lot of parents go to practices. Now, this guy, it's because he's involved, and I think more parents are involved in that aspect now. They go to their kids' practices, but it's just a social gathering for them. They're not really caring about what their kid is doing on the field or what, they're not there to help, keep an eye on what they need to work on with their kid after practice.
That has changed also.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know if in Wilburton they do that now, though. A lot of parents come to the practices.
Not really. I mean, they might get there like right at the end and just kind of stand back out. But, I mean, I remember when I played in high school, my dad and some other parents and stuff would come up there, and they would actually not get on the field, but they would actually get up there to where they could see and actually watch. Some of them brought their own chairs, and would sit down and just watch. It wasn't they weren't trying to interfere,
right?
But they were just watching practice, and you don't have if a parent gets there early, most of the time they just sit in the truck in the air conditioner and watch.
Yeah,
they don't get out and and I don't know that that's a huge difference, but it's a difference.
You coach T-ball too, right? You said, and a lot of parents stay for all those practices.
I make them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's like, listen, I'm not here to herd cats.
That's right. Well, that's one thing that I learned.
Stray cats.
And I tell them, I said, I signed up to volunteer to coach T-ball. I did not sign up to volunteer to be a babysitter.
Yeah.
And I tell all the parents before the year, I say, I have a pre-parent meeting, and I tell them, you're responsible for your kid. You bring that kid, you pick that kid up, unless you've made other arrangements. I said, if you're not here when practice is over, I'm not sitting here and waiting for you to get here because you've wanted to go play whatever. I said, you need to make sure if you have to leave, you need to find another parent or somebody that's going to be responsible for your kid that's going to pick your kid up.
Because it ain't me.
Because it ain't going to be me. I said, I'm already volunteering an unreal amount of time just to try to herd cats. Exactly. You know, because everybody thinks, well, you just got practice and games, but that's just that much of it.
Yeah.
And there's this much more you got to deal with.
Yeah.
When you're coaching. So yes, I lay that out there early. I tell them, you need to be here at practice. I said, things could happen. Your kid could get hurt. If you're not here, we ain't going to know what to freaking do. Call you and tell you to, get out of Subway and get down here. Get out of the tanning bed. I don't know what you're doing, but you need to be here at practice. And I tell them, if you're not, you find somebody that's going to be responsible for your kid if you have to leave.
That's even up here, my boys have played, ever since I can remember, it seems like, but most of their lives, and invariably we do have that kid in youth sports that his mom or his whoever's taking care of him is not there at the end of practice. And you're just sitting there like, you're looking at this kid, he's looking at you. And you're like, well, did they say anything whenever they left? They're supposed to come back and pick me up, and then you're just sitting there chilling with this kid.
We had that last year.
And it's a babysitter for some people. You know what I mean? They bring those kids so that there's somewhere for that kid to be at that time or whatever.
So they have that hour or 2 hours free.
Of course, for me, I'm like, even whenever Gavin, and I've toned it down a bunch, but whenever Gavin got into junior high, 7th grade football, I stopped being able to coach him after 6th grade. So in 7th grade football, I would freaking, after work, drive up there and sit in my truck and watch practice. me and like 2 or 3 other dads, you know what I mean? And after a while, of course, Gavin would be like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm watching practice. Why? Nobody else is here. I'm like, well, because I want to see how you're doing. I want to make sure you're not screwing up, or whatever. And I dialed it back after a little while. But he was my oldest. I didn't know. No one ever did that. You know what I mean? Whenever I was a kid. So I didn't have a frame of reference. I definitely had ideas for what I wanted my kids to be. And so I did a lot of things deliberately that weren't done whenever I was growing up. You know what I mean? I changed a lot of things up from my upbringing. Mm-hmm. So, and I wouldn't say I did the opposite of everything, not at all, but there were some specific things that I was like, you know what, man, I would have liked for this to have been different. So I tried to do that stuff, I mean, and like, it's just like having a new baby. Your first baby, you're like, everything's a panic attack. You're like, why is this baby crying? Or what does it need? Or whatever. And I did that with Gavin for a little bit as he went up through sports, especially when he was real little. And after a while, I was like, dude, it's kind of like after you have a kid and then you have another one, you're like, all right, that's not a big deal. This is not such a big deal after all. They're going to be fine, that kind of thing like that. And it worked itself out. But, dude, there's plenty of people in this town right now that we're in that have some strange ideas about their children playing ball and what their role as a parent is.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
It's weird, actually. To me, I don't do anything as a social aspect. I don't know anybody up here. So still yet, I've lived here for this time 3 years, and I don't know anybody. I mean, I can say hi, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Or something like that. But I mean, I don't have that capacity. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't want to talk about who's cheating with whose wife, dude. I don't give a damn about that. I'm up here watching my kid, so don't talk to me. I'm looking at this, I'm horrible about it, but well, what else?
So Wilburton Athletics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where are you at with that, Luke? What do you think about? Do you think it's headed in a good direction? I mean, is it headed up as far as the management level? Where you at with it? And I'm talking about like from the school perspective. I mean, like the school board. Do they seem like they're taking it? Because, I mean, and I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm strictly going off of what I've seen in the paper. So that is or is not a good filter on what's going on. But I know there was some rough patches, some real rough patches for a while. And that has gotten better, but I mean, do you feel like the school system is involved with athletics as much as it should be?
I'll say this is, and I there's things going on up there. I don't know any specifics. I know that there's some things that are getting looked at right now that I hope get resolved sooner rather than later. Either way, whichever way it needs to go. To have a successful program, whether that be basketball, baseball, football, band, it doesn't matter. You have to have, in my opinion, people that are going to back the program with integrity and pride. I have pride in Wilburton Diggers, and that'll never change. But I'm willing to do the things that it takes to have a successful program the right way. I don't know what's all going on up there, if it's the wrong way or not. That'll all come out on its own. But I can tell you that you have to have people involved that care. And I don't know about the school board members. I don't know about the administration. I can tell you this, and this is just my opinion. If I was on the school board, I would be heavily involved in as much as I could. That means, do I want to go listen to a band concert? Heck no. But I'll go. If I'm on the school board, I'll go to a band concert. I'll go to a drama play.
I'll
go and support. I'll go sit through basketball games. I'll go to the girls' softball games. I'll go to as many things as I can within reason.
I'm supposed to do that
to be supportive. I don't know. I don't know if that goes on up there. I don't know. It could be. It could not be. I'm just telling you, if I was on the board of education at Wilburton Public Schools, I would be getting myself involved not only in what my kids are doing, but because there are other sports. There are other organizations, and they all have to have support. Now, my grandma was on the school board for a long time, and I remember going up there and the phone ring, and she would be on the phone, and I'd be like, what the heck? Well, it would be a parent calling her about this or calling her about that. And I just feel like you can relate more if you're in. You're not going to know everything that's going on, especially during the school hours of the school activity, the regular 8 to 3:30 or whatever it is. But you can be involved. I mean, just take for an example, a parent calls, this coach if you had been there, you'd have seen how that coach treated my son at the game and what he said. All you got to go off is he said, she said. If you were there and you seen it with your own eyes, you could draw your own judgment on what happened.
Right.
So I feel like maybe that doesn't get done as much as it should. I don't know. I have a feeling that it doesn't. I don't know how to explain it any other way other than you have to be supportive of the whole school, not just one part of the school. You can't be one-sided. You can't be, even if I was, just say I was the athletic director of a school. Well, I may like football more, but I have to support them all the same. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I have to support them all the same. I can't just lean towards football, my favorite sport. I have to. Yeah, I can like it more, I can enjoy it more, but I have to support it all the same.
And be involved.
And to your point, man, I kind of see the same thing, and I got no problem with it necessarily, but they got like that really nice gym built, and that was awesome. I mean, that was one of those things where I was like, hey, that's something that looks to me from the outside looking in like a change is happening. You know what I mean? Wow, that's a big thing. I have no idea what all even goes into getting a gym like that built as far as financing and getting, bonds or whatever it takes to get all that crap built. But it took some initiative on some people's parts to get something like that done. You don't get a nice gym. I mean, one of the nicest gyms in the countryside, man. I don't know of a nicer gym in this area, So that took some doing, right? But it's almost like I said, this is outside looking in, but it almost kind of fell flat after that. And I thought, well, we're about to see some, some upgrades on some baseball fields and some, nothing wrong with none of this stuff. I don't mean to say that these are, they're dilapidated or anything, but I thought we were about to see some improvements, like you said, across the school, maybe some football field improvements, let's see what all happens. And unfortunately, it just kind of ended right there. It seemed like, I don't know. Like do you feel like there's a lot of other people that are on your same page as far as the pride you feel in Wilburton? I mean, it seems like there's not that many people that I know anymore that still live there. I mean, there's a few, especially around you guys' age, which is cool, that there's still quite a few people that live there. But I mean, I know people from like my age group, not that many people live around Wilburton anymore, unfortunately. And I can't even tell you why. I don't necessarily know why. But I mean, do you feel like you're kind of a man on an island as far as your pride in the school goes? Or? I mean, it used to be Charles Adams that was like the go-to as far as somebody that was like a, Wilburton Digger guy, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, do you feel like you're like the only one doing that, or?
I don't know.
I'm not trying to get you to talk trash on anybody or anything.
Right.
I'm just curious.
Well, I don't know, because I haven't talked about it a whole lot, to be perfectly honest with you. I want the best for Wilburton. I want the best for Wilburton Public Schools, and I want the best for each department within the school. Probably deep down in my heart, I feel like I'm probably on an island a lot of the times. I'll use this as an example, okay? A good supervisor of a company is going to have success when he surrounds himself with people that can help him achieve success.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He can't do it all on his own. You have to surround yourself with people. You have to set goals. Say I'm an owner of a company. I need to set goals for my company. And I need to know where I want to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And I have to put people in place and surround me and help me achieve those goals. If I've got people that are not helping me achieve my goals, whether they're my best friend or not, I've got to get them replaced with somebody that's going to help me achieve my goals. Right. You can't let people be in the way of you achieving goals. The goals are set for a reason, to achieve them, to reach your goal and to achieve it. The band teacher can only surround himself with so many people to help him.
Right.
I mean, his hands are tied, mm-hmm. his or hers, of whoever it is, whatever school it is. Okay, so if his hands are tied, it's got to come from administration. You have to have, in my opinion, my goal is I would want every department, every coach, teacher, whatever you want to call them, to be successful and to compete. Now, I think that Wilburton should be competing
more than
consistently. You're going to have up years and you're going to have down years.
Right.
That's part of it. But Wilburton does not deserve to be at the bottom
of everything
on a continuous level.
Right.
Wilburton is more worthy of
yes.
that. They need to be competing. Now, I'm not saying that they got to win conference championships every year, but they need to be competing for that. I mean, they need to be real close, real stinking close. And if they're not, you got to make changes. At the end of the day, you have to be competitive. And this all goes back to not only administration, it comes from the top, but it also, kids are different. You've got to learn how it
starts with the parents.
It doesn't show you what kind of a academic teacher you are if you've got geniuses on the academic team. What have you done other than drove them to an academic meet? It's about what have you taught them that aren't really that smart, but they learned enough to be competitive in academics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about, that defines a good teacher or a good coach. What can you do when you don't have the talented people? Can you still compete? Can you still come up with a plan? Can you still put kids in a competitive position to compete when the odds are stacked against you? And that's what Wilburton has got to have across the board. Across the board. If you've got teachers up there that aren't performing, you got to do something.
Yeah.
If you've got a coach up there that's not cutting it, you've got to do something. You've either got to help him do something different, and if you give him the help you think that he needs and he's still not doing it, or she,
right,
you got to move on.
Yeah.
You got to find somebody. That's just life. I mean, in a real working world, and Lucas can tell you, especially in the oil and gas business, if you don't perform, if you don't show results, you're going to get sifted out. And it all goes back to, I'll just use my experience, okay? In the oil and gas business, say you got a production foreman, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean he's got to know everything under the sun, because I can tell you right now, in the business that I'm in, there's nobody that knows everything, period. And if you're not learning something every day in the oil and gas business, you're not doing your job. You should be learning something new every day. There is countless things to learn in the oil and gas business. But a good foreman, a good production supervisor, a good operations manager is going to surround himself with people that can help him. People that may have knowledge in an area that he might lack a little bit.
Right.
That way, and you got to lean on those people. You can't just sit back and lean on them and then take all the credit too.
Well,
you see what I'm saying? I mean, you got to be willing to say, look what we did, not look what I did.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, if you keep doing the I, then all these people that are helping you get to that, they're going to get tired of it.
Yeah.
They're going to get tired of hearing what you did and not what y'all did. So, and it goes back to the school. It's got to start with administration, and the administration has got to get focused and it's got to get all on the same page, and everything has got to fall into place. You've got to put people in positions that you feel that they can be successful. If they're not successful, what can you do to change to help them? If you do that, if you make changes to help them be successful and they're still not successful, then something's got to change.
Now, do you?
But another thing that's so tough at Wilburton is, and I'm somewhat like this, is, well, we're afraid to change. We've always done it this way. We're always going to do it this way. Well, there comes a day when that's going to come back to haunt you. You're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to change. You're going to have to do something different than you've already done it, because what you've been doing hasn't been working. So let's figure out something else to do here. Let's find ways. Let's get incentives for people to do better, whatever that may be. Somebody's got to be the visionary.
And I am not drawing comparisons here. Don't get me wrong. I'm just going off of what I see. Like in let's say McAllister, for instance, they've got a pretty strong alumni here. And what I mean by that is, and Wilburton does too, but I mean, you got a lot of people in this town who, I don't know how to say it any other way. You got a lot of guys that are like has-beens, and they still, it matters to them how they're perceived, how their town is perceived. I'll give them that in this town. There's plenty of faults in this town. I'm not saying this is a perfect town or anything, but it is a direction that I've noticed. I hear people talk about it. I hear these people at these different sporting events gathered up, and they all know each other from high school, and they're talking about what they're not happy about, and it's something that they think about all the time. And that's what I was wondering if you have that, in your town. I say your town, dude. I'm from Wilburton too, but I'm just saying currently, because I don't spend a whole lot of time in Wilburton. It would be tough. I can imagine how tough it would be to be kind of the guy that's going, well, I don't like losing all the time, and everybody else is like, well, I don't really care about that. I want to, I want my kid to go to a great college or whatever. And I don't mean to, I kind of said that the wrong way. Well, you have people that I've heard around here go, this is McAllister. These guys are saying it to each other. They're not talking to high school kids. They're not talking to coaches. They're sitting there talking to each other, and they're like, this is McAllister. It used to matter to us how we did and what happened in our school in athletics and that kind of thing like that. And I've heard, this is, like I said, I'm outside looking in big time, but I've heard people say, well, I tried to do that at Wilburton and it kind of fell on deaf ears or those kind of things like that. And I think that kind of thing's unfortunate. I'm wondering, okay, it doesn't have to be athletics. Your focus doesn't have to be, but is it in
something
Wilburton
else?
School?
Right.
Where does your allegiance lie?
Right.
If you have children in school, like we all do, I'm trying to give them the best opportunity I can give them. So, it would be hard. I'm not involved up here in the school system at all, but I do kind of listen. I kind of keep my ears open because my kids are here.
Well, I was going to say, in a way you are, because you're keeping your kids on track. You're working out with them. You're working with them in the yard. You're going to their practices.
Well, I do what I can in my little corner of the world. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of parents don't do that. It's like today, and I'm not patting myself on the back by no means, but I'm about to watch a NASCAR race. I get a text message, hey, you want to go, does Kason want to go run routes? and practice with a couple QBs, and I was like, well, duh, So I got and it was like I was like, what time? And this was like 12:50, and he was like 1:00. Okay, say no more, and that's what we did, and so it's little things like that, I think, that goes a long ways in the end. Not necessarily talking about you're not involved with the administration of a school and how everything goes, but if we all work together, and you hear that all the time, but as parents, if you make sure your kids are on track and doing the right thing and not disrespectful to the coaches and not disrespectful to the teachers and actually, like you did in high school, worked out on when no one else was and did what it takes, and look what happened. You went on and played in college football. Those little things. It's like when we played, or when we were practicing the other night, on the way home, I told Casey, I was like, hey, we're going to work out when we get home, so we did a little workout. And it's little things like that. And I'm no genius, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying I'm trying to do for him, hopefully that when we are on during our season, the little work that he put in, or a lot of work that he put in, is going to show up,
Right.
And if
make
we
your
all
team
did
that much better.
yes.
Yeah.
This is
It's the same thing with the administration of a school.
Right.
Everybody puts in a little work. We're all going to be good.
Right. An old cliche, but it stands true. And y'all are probably going to laugh at me when I say this, but if more parents had the mindset of it's not what the school can do for me, but what I can do for the school, if more of the parents had that mindset, it would be a total different situation.
100%.
Total different situation.
Yes.
Not what my country can do for me, but what I can do for my country. Not what the school can do for me, but what can I do for the school.
Right.
If more parents and supporters had that mindset, it would be endless.
Yes.
But the problem is the parents don't have that. They put everything 110% all on the school. They think that the school should do everything. Well, school can't control what your kid's doing when he's at home.
Right.
But you can.
Yes.
You can control it. Is he going home and doing absolutely nothing, he or she? Or are they putting in a little extra? Are they doing a little extra at home to be better? Are they putting in another 30 minutes to an hour of learning something different? Are the kids going home and going to their room and playing their instrument for another 30 minutes more than what they're getting at school? Or practicing their lines for a play, or whatever the case may be? And if parents had that, I think that you would see a total different. Now, the answer to getting to that point, to getting parents that way, I don't know. I don't know how, like I said, you can't control what happens when that kid goes home.
Yeah.
How you can get more people with that. I don't know if you just try to have, group meetings with, the coach sits down with and has, parent meetings and say, hey, we're going to work the best we can with your kids while they're here.
But it don't stop
We're
here.
going to try, right. We're going to try to put your kids in a position up here to be successful, but we can't guarantee everything. But what you can guarantee us is you're going to have expectations of your kids outside of here,
Right.
to also work, to learn, to do whatever it takes to come back to be better.
Right. Well, I say it don't stop here. It don't start there either. It don't start and during practice. It starts at home and it ends at home, and it starts with the parents and ends with the parents, and everyone needs to be involved.
And to me, one reason why I wanted to bring some of those things up, and it's not, I wasn't pointing a finger at you going, Luke, you're the only guy that cares. It's not that, but I mean, you got to think about this. Are we going to come up with an answer here tonight? No, but you could potentially start a discussion, that someone in Wilburton may hear this podcast or watch it just because they know me and Ben are knotheads. We're liable to say something ignorant that they can laugh at, but then they sit here and maybe sit through the rest of it if we don't drone on too long. But I mean, they'll listen to it and go, you know what, man, that's true. I hadn't thought about it, but I did go to school there. I do, it kind of does matter to me. Opening up discussion sometimes is what it takes to change some minds about some things. I've had it happen to me about different issues, where you just go, Well, on my own, I don't even think about that crap. Who cares about that? But then when somebody starts talking about it, then all of a sudden I've found myself like the next day going, wait a minute, what do I think about that? What is my opinion on that? Or maybe I should, and then your parents at a game and you're sitting there going, man, I was thinking about that. You're probably right. And then that dude might talk to his friend or that woman might talk to her husband or whatever, like you said, however it might work out. But at least you've got a discussion. Because when nobody's talking about it, then it never takes off. Right. And that's what I was hoping by us bringing it up, especially, with your perspective. You got kids in school there. You see it. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily thinking, we're going to come up with the solution to fix whatever's going on, or that you might even be happy with the way things are there. And I don't mean to say that you shouldn't be, but I'm just saying there's things about that, the entire program, that I wish were different.
And it's not just sports, we're not talking about just sports.
Right. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm happy with the way things are going up there right now, because that would be a lie. If I said that, everything's just great, I think it's awesome.
Well, there's drama going on right now, so how could you be happy with that?
Right. So, like I said, hopefully, all that stuff works itself out sooner rather than later. Like I said, whichever way it goes, it goes. There's going to have to be changes, and there's going to have to be different mindsets. That's all. At the end of the day, that's my point of view on it. That's just my theory. From what little I'm involved in it. So that's where I stand on it. There's going to have to be some changes. But like we talked, it can't, it's got to be a collaborative effort. Administration, coaches, teachers, parents, students, collaborative effort.
It seems like, and I hate saying this because I don't like being that, when I was in school, but every department of our school, or every, our choir and our band and our football, our basketball wasn't that great. Our girls' basketball was great. It seems like everyone was competing, and kicking butt,
Well, you have those years though where the success of one program might push another program. You know what I mean? Just like you guys had a pretty good time in high school football, for instance. And I'm not saying that drove everything else, but it helps. Whenever morale's high and everybody feels like you got a lot of good athletes in school, well, then that's going to drive a lot of it, and it's going to keep people from having to have too many discussions about it, because you're like, well, these kids are good. They're just good. So it's awesome. But it's been, in my mind, and man, I'm not pointing any fingers at all. I just, as a guy that went to school there or whatever, it just kind of sucks to me. And we had a mediocre year, my senior year especially. I mean, 5-5 is what we had, so that's about as mediocre as it gets. But as a guy who went to school there for most of junior high and all of high school, I kind of counted myself as part of it now. I mean, God, that was 30 years ago when we moved there. So I hate to hear negative things, you know what I mean? Yes. I mean, I've had people literally, whenever they'll say, I
was going to bring this up.
Well, I mean, I've had people go,
where are you from?
Wilburton? Yeah. Dude, those guys. Oh, and I'm like, hey, I mean, every school's got their problem. They got their down years and that kind of thing like that. But it on a personal level, I'm like, hold on just a minute, just because you don't, they haven't won. But then I walk away from it going, damn, what's going on over there?
Well, that's how you're
wondering or whatever.
That's how you're known. Most of the time schools are known by their sports.
That's true.
And now we've got this black eye because we got this, and I say we because I'm still from Wilburton. And then you see, on the news where, people are, the drama in the school. It made the news. And it's like, gosh, why?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, you get these times, though, like this where things get really bad and somebody, and I'm not saying they're terrible at Wilburton, but I mean, sometimes you can come out of that kind of stuff, though, and somebody go, that's enough. This is enough. Let's do something about it. This has gone far enough. And that's, like I said, this discourse, this discussion or whatever, even though it's small, there are a few people who listen to this, and people from Wilburton do too. And maybe it'll help, boost a little bit, you know, when somebody go, you know, man, these guys are right, even though they ain't going to admit it because they want to just give us crap all the time. But I mean, you know, somebody in their head, whenever they're not talking to anybody, sitting there going, you know, man, that's right. That's true. There needs to be a little more pride taken in what's going on down here.
Have you thought about running for school board?
Ooh.
Ooh, he's like, I ain't trying to announce nothing on
Putting
here.
him right on the spot, aren't I?
It's crossed my mind, but at this right now, I really enjoy football. I feel like at this particular moment that I'm better just what I'm doing, helping, volunteering with a high school football program. It probably wouldn't settle real good if I was on the school board and then out there helping the high school football team. There are probably people that probably wouldn't think too highly of that.
But who cares what they think?
Well, yeah, but
you know what I mean? I mean, you got a guy that's willing to volunteer and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Make
but
the
they're
program better.
also going to also think that that certain program's going to get more attention because you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're going to prove them wrong.
Well,
And that's what they'll say. They'll be like, "Are you kidding me? This guy is
And tonight
everywhere."
we want to announce that Luke Underwood. No, I'm just kidding.
This guy's Charles Adams. You know, this is the second Charles Adams. Mr. Adams. I never called him Charles.
I just
Same birthday, by the way.
weird.
It's crossed my mind, but right now I don't know.
I think it would be great.
Well, I hope like I said,
Because look how passionate you are about it.
You're not going to find. I'm just going to tell you because this topic has drove my wife crazy. She just does not understand why I love Wilburton so much, and I honestly can't tell you why, but I do. That's why I live there. That's why I want my kids to go to school there, but I also know that there's issues that need to be resolved sooner rather than later. And no, you're not going to find anybody else that's going to have more pride, I'm telling you, in that school, in that town than me, period. You're just not going to find it.
I agree 100%.
I agree. You could have been like anybody else. You know, you could have took your family and raised them anywhere.
Honest to God, I feel like people. I've been in a vehicle all the way from Oklahoma to California, and I've been from Oklahoma to Florida in a vehicle. I haven't seen all the United States, but from the states that I've seen, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Utah, Colorado, you know, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. I mean, I would not want to live any other place.
Right.
I feel that there's places in Latimer County that I've seen that people just driving through Latimer County would never know it. But I've been able to put myself in a position, and I've seen views in Latimer County that are priceless, that you just like, wow, I didn't know you could get to this spot and see this view. And I think that's a lot of the reason why Brandy doesn't totally understand why. But I feel like I literally live in one of the most beautiful places that a person could live. And I have a strong attachment to Wilburton. And people are going to go, well, I don't know why you're sitting up here talking on this deal about all these problems. Yeah, you're right.
There are problems that need to be resolved.
Problems, but that doesn't change my heart.
Right.
And my heart is...
You want to see it better.
Right. My heart is Wilburton and Latimer County. You know, that's... I want to help people. That's one of the reasons that I got into law enforcement to begin with, because everybody thinks that you just run around arresting bad guys.
Right.
Well, that's a big part of it, but there's also a big part where you do that. You sign up for that. You should sign up for that to help.
Right.
To help people that need help.
100%.
There are people out there that live in this world, that live in our little old county, Latimer County, the small county in Oklahoma, that need help, that need encouragement. I mean, you know, that's what I told the boys a couple years ago at one of the breakfasts that we had out at our church, and I got up and spoke for a little bit, and I told them, I said, you know, try to say something encouraging to somebody, and not just. Don't get me wrong, I like to joke and kid around just as much as anybody, and give somebody a hard time, and I probably ride it longer than I should sometimes.
Well, you got red hair,
but
so
but
you come by it honest.
But I'm not doing it in a way to make that person go home and think something bad,
less of themselves or something.
Right.
So, but what I told them is, you've got to say something, because you never know when that might just turn their day around, turn their life around. Say something encouraging to them. It might actually just totally turn them a 180.
Yep.
You know?
I agree.
And that, like I said, I like to help people. If you ever get, it's hard to explain because I've had a lot of different adrenaline rushes, but to actually personally help somebody in a positive way, it makes you feel better as a person inside than you can ever explain. I mean, it really does. I roughnecked when I broke out in the oil field. I worked on a drilling rig, and there was a guy on our crew, and he used to be a preacher, and he had fallen bad, just bad, cussing, and me and him just got to sitting down and talking one day, and I didn't say anything, you know, just miraculous, but I just asked him, I said, well, I won't say his name, but I said, do you think you need to get back on track? And I didn't mean it bad. I wasn't being a smart aleck when I said it, and he just kind of looked at me, and he's like, you know what, you're right, I do. He said, I've been off track for about 5 years now. And he said, I need to get back on track. I said, well, I'm just asking. I said, I'm not judging you. I'm just asking that question. And he did. And,
really?
you know, just me asking that simple question.
Triggered
it. Just triggered it. And he turned his life around. He started preaching again. He went a different road. But you never know when just something small, just conversation, you might think it's meaningless.
Right.
But it helped, and it made me feel better. I was like, daggum, yeah. My little old conversation and my asking him, you know, do you think you need to turn your life around? Do you think you know what, you're right. You're right, I do.
And that's what I tell people when I tell them, you know, I've been in law enforcement since, 05 or 06 or whatever. I said, you know, people think that I got into it just so I could tote a gun and badge. And that was, and if you knew me in, you know, working around me in law enforcement and stuff, you would see that's complete
absolutely
opposite.
Right.
It's absolutely right. Anytime, I always treat people the same. You know, I would talk to people the same way. I didn't, you know, put people down. If any, warrant that we went and served, any search warrant, whatever, and they'd be sitting there with handcuffs on, they'd be crying, or they'd be talking smack or whatever, I would say, listen, this is not the end of the world. You know, this is not the end for you. You know, so I would just give them a little bit of encouragement, even though they might be, you know, cussing me and I didn't really have a lot of people that did that. But, you know, because I was always just like I am right now with them, you know.
Right.
Like, listen, it's not the end of it for you, you know. So, like you said earlier, getting into law enforcement, it was, you know, you just want to help people. And we've known some other people that don't want to help nobody. You know, they got into law enforcement to put the badge.
See how many people they can throw in jail.
Right. And it was not about that for you and not about that for me and a lot of other guys that we were, you know, around and stuff. It wasn't about that for them either. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're trying to help them.
That's the power of the spoken word. You know, I mean, for all the negative things about, I guess you'd say, about the world, especially right now, the spoken word's never been more powerful than it is right now, because there's so many ways for it to be put out there for so many people to hear. You know, just like a conversation like you had with that guy, you know, I mean, like the conversation we're having right now, I'm telling you, man, more people listen to it than we realize. There's plenty of people that don't acknowledge it, you know, like actually say I like that or comment on it or even say anything to anybody or anything. Somebody slips around there and goes, what are you guys talking about, or whatever. So the power of spoken word, dude, I mean, I know, take it from a guy who talks too much, that every now and then, like you said, you'll hit on something for somebody and they're like, hey, you know, it'll take them in some direction that maybe you make them think in a way they never thought before, or I've had it happen to me. That's why it's important. I like getting to know people for that reason. Yeah. You know, you get to know somebody and all of a sudden
you never know what
you're a little bit different in a good way because of some conversation you had, or, you know, any number of things. That's why I don't think like this being a waste of time. I don't see that. You know, people are like, nobody's going to listen to that. I'm like, well, don't listen to it then if you don't want to. You don't have to. Nobody's making you. But
you might get something out of it.
If it does, on the same instance, we're talking about things, especially this episode in particular, about things that it could influence somebody's thinking in a positive way. There's nothing negative really just been focused on here, you know, if you think about it.
Well, we've done search warrants where we jumped. There was a time we did a search warrant. We busted in the house. We took 3 steps and had to jump over a kid in a what do you call those things where they
like wheel, a playpen?
No, they wheel around on the house. You know, they sit in it and they just wheel around.
A
walker. And we had to jump over the little kid in a walker. Now, don't think that when we put the cuffs on the dude, I mean, it's real easy to sit there and put this guy down and be like, you know, da 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 da.
Doing this with a kid in the house, blah, blah,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was said to him by somebody. I wanted to say it to him. I was not happy with this man at all. But at the same time, it's like I can sit here and say all this stuff to him and scream and yell at him. Or do you think maybe if I talk to him like a human being, man to man, you know, and not as a, you know, SWAT member or whatever, CERT member, you know, just talk to him. Dude, this is not the end. And this is definitely not what you want for your kids. It's obvious, you know, because this guy had a nice house, pretty nice house, and he had nice things, but you could tell he had, you know, drifted. So he was starting to get into the dope game. He was wanting to make meth and stuff, you know. So it's like it would have been real easy to put the guy down, but I always thought, man, if I can just get through to him and maybe, you know, these couple days in jail he's going to spend and the DA is going to give him, you know, drug court. And
this is kind of going down a different direction in a sense, but it's not. So a lot of the issues that we face every day in society, a lot of the problem is because of the negativity. You know, we've just witnessed over yesterday 2 mass shootings.
Yes.
2 mass shootings happened.
2 different states, Ohio and Texas.
And, of course, who the heck knows, you know, what those people were even thinking, what was going through their minds, what they had gone through in their life, or what they had put themselves through on their own in life to put them into that position mentally to want to do something like that. Our world and our society is filled full of negative things and negativity, and our kids are exposed to massive amounts of negativity every day and not enough positive stuff. That's one of the reasons that I'm and we could talk about music because I like music. We can get off into that, but I don't listen to the same music that I used to listen to on a regular basis. And people make fun of me, and I don't care. You know, there's not a whole lot of songs on 107.3 that I don't know. Right. That I can't sing word for word. But I have a passion now in the spot that I'm in my life where I I love gospel music. And, not saying that, if you listen to a country song, you're a bad person, because that's not what I'm trying to say here. But what I'm trying to say here is I'm trying to put more positive things into my mind to help me think more positive, to help me be a better citizen, to help me be a better husband, to help me be a better parent to my girls, who I love dearly, and my wife. So, but and people think, oh, you ain't gonna do nothing crazy over the music you listen to. Well, that's false, because it's been a proven fact that there have been people that have done some horrible things over things that they've put in their mind through music or being involved in it physically or whatever. So I try to put more things in my mind that are positive, so that it'll help me think more positive throughout the day. Do I have negative thoughts? Do I still have things that happen to me that are negative? Of course I do. But I try to overcome those things by listening to music that's uplifting to me, to help me try to get over the hump, to try to help me not think the bad things. Lucas may laugh at me over this, but it is unbelievable how much I am infatuated with gospel quartets. I mean, it is unbelievable.
I wouldn't laugh at it, but
okay. And well, I'm just saying, I love listening to bass singers. I've got this like hidden love for bass singers. Like, it is unbelievable. It's unreal. It really is.
Kim Basinger?
Huh?
Kim Basinger?
Don't listen to him.
Go ahead.
But no, I mean, I can sit here and tell you a lot of people don't know it, but I'm going to tell you right now that there are a lot of good singers out there. There are a lot of good vocalists out there
that don't make it mainstream.
But I've listened to enough music to know, and I listen to it regular, that you won't find any more pure vocalist anywhere else than you will find in gospel music, period. I'm just telling you. I've listened to enough people sing. I'm just telling you. If you ever get a chance to listen to a guy named David Phelps, not the David Phelps that you're thinking of, but there is a guy, and he went to Baylor University, and he sang with the Gaither Gospel Band for a while, and his name's David Phelps. If you ever sit down and listen to a David Phelps song, it don't matter which one it is. You'll sit there and you'll just be like, whoa, because I've seen him live. I've gotten into this Gaither.
Now, does your wife listen to that stuff too, or no?
She's gone with me to the she don't like it like I do. Like I get like in it. Like I'm like in it. I'm in it. It's odd. You know,
I have to admit it is.
15 years ago,
Sounds like
unusual.
15 years ago,
wouldn't have said that.
And it's just like this modern contemporary Christian music.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even start listening to that until about 8 years ago. And I had a coworker, a girl at work that was talking about, she went on a K-Love cruise. And I was like, what the heck is that? What's K-Love? And she told me. And I was like, she's like, well, it's contemporary Christian. I was like, oh, I don't listen to that stuff. I listen to real gospel music. You know, I don't listen to that stuff. But then I started listening to K-Love. And no, I don't like all the people that are on there, and but I'm telling you, I mean, there's a lot of very good vocalists, a lot of very good songs, positive contemporary Christian songs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, I'm like
infatuated.
You go back to like old, the cathedrals, Ernie Haas and Signature Sound. I mean, I'm telling you, I go back, and I'm just this whole gospel quartet deal is just amazing to me. It just is. It's a passion I have, and I like to listen to it. I was listening to the Gaithers this morning before church. Brandy will walk in like, can you turn that down? I'm like, no, I can't. You just wait, because I want to listen to it. And they were actually doing this morning. They were doing a contribution to George Younce, which he was a bass singer for the Cathedrals, And but anyway, yeah, it's what we put in our minds, and has a big effect on the way we act, and our actions, and how we react. Not just how we act, but how we react. It's a terrible, terrible situation what has happened the last 2 days. I was at home with our 1-year-old yesterday, and Brandy took Hope and Reese to Fort Smith when all that stuff was going on in El Paso. And I just sent her a message. I said, hey, be careful. I said, they just had a mass shooting at a Walmart in El Paso, multiple casualties and unknown amount of deaths, several deaths, but they haven't given a number yet. She's like, oh my gosh. And I mean, that's just a risk you take being out in society, out in public.
Yep.
But it's still, people really need to be diligent and be aware of their surroundings. I mean, it can come out of nowhere, obviously.
Yes. Right.
But when you're out in a, especially in like a Walmart or a shopping mall, or I still big sporting event, you really need to be cognizant and realize your surroundings. And okay, if something happens, what am I going to do? What direction am I? Where can I take cover? Where can I?
Right.
There's just things that need to go through your head when you're in that position.
Everywhere you go.
And it's sad. It really is. And it's sad that
shouldn't have to do that, but that's the way it is.
You're right. And let's talk about the gun violence issue. Okay, people immediately want to blame guns, and the people that are the first question they ask was, where did they get that gun, and did they get it legally? Well, I got news for you. Even if it was illegal, that doesn't mean they're not going to still get the gun.
Right.
It's just, drugs are illegal, but they still get drugs. That's not going to change.
Right.
If somebody wants to create harm to somebody else or multiple somebody's else, they're going to find a way to do it, whether it be legal or illegal, for them to get the weapon to do it. It's not. I have a hard time understanding they want to blame it all on, well, they got the gun illegally. We need to stop that. Well, they're going to continue. They're going to continue to get it illegally, even if
right.
I don't care if there's too many firearms that are built in this world. They're not going to be able to prevent people from getting them.
Right.
They talk about there's people that want to shut down gun shows. There's people that want to do this, do that, make it harder to get a gun than it already is.
Because they think it's easy to buy a gun. And here I am. I'll tell you exactly how easy it is for a law enforcement officer. I'm currently commissioned. I have a badge. And if I go to a gun show right now to buy a weapon, or if I go to a pawn shop to buy a weapon, or if I go to anywhere to buy a weapon other than an individual, they will have to do a background check on me. I can show them my commission card. I can show them my badge. I'm currently on a department. I'm currently a police officer. And they're like, we still have to do all this. Mm-hmm. So that's how hard it is, or how easy, if you want to say, it is to get a gun. They think you can just go to a gun show and buy a gun and take off down the street. It is not that way. Anyways.
Well, this comes right back to the power of the spoken word. You got to look at it in your life. Okay, whichever side of the gun argument you want to stand on, that's your prerogative. The world is a dangerous place, period. It always has been, and it always will be. So if you are raising your kids in some fantasy land that everywhere they go is absolutely a safe place, then in my mind, you've cheated them. You know what I'm saying? Now, everybody always says, well, in America, we should be able to go to a mall and not have to worry about that. That should be something we shouldn't have to worry. But guess what, man? Since the beginning of time, it was either a saber-toothed tiger or a bear or other people. And
I don't think anybody in their right mind would argue with that, but that's not reality. It's the reality is that you do have to worry.
Yeah,
you should. You do have to worry. Every day that my kids go to school up there at Wilburton, I have to have that in the back of my mind.
Yep. That
there could be something happen to them up there at that school. And we can get off on that. I got my degree just actually 2 years ago, actually finished my degree 2 years ago in criminal justice, and I done a paper over resource officers. I think that there should be resource officers in every school. Why?
Absolutely.
Tell me why it's okay to have resource officers in, Jinx, Broken Arrow, even does McAllister have their own?
Yeah.
But why is it not okay that small schools shouldn't have that same protection?
I 100% agree.
I'm betting it's probably a budget thing. They're probably not willing to budget money towards it. You know what I'm saying?
But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a budget thing. When it comes to protecting this country and the people that are in it, there should be no budget. In my opinion, we should fully fund our military as it should be endless. Yes, you have to have checks and balances. I'm not saying that. When it comes to protecting the people that live in this country, not just abroad, when here in the States, it should be endless. We have such a issue with everybody wants something for nothing. Everybody thinks that they're owed something, but in my opinion, the states, I think it should be led up to each individual state how they handle it. But I think the funds should be there for every school to have the equal protection. Why does a kid in Jinx deserve more protection while he's at school than my kid at Wilburton?
Right.
That's not right.
I think there should be one officer per so many kids.
Well, you gotta think about it on this level, and I'm not trying to justify it, but you got to look at it like this. Think about how many schools you know of that there are out there that have kids in them. And I'm talking about schools that go to 8th grade, any school, right? Because we got, 3 elementaries in this town? Isn't it 3? 3 or 4.
And I think we only have one resource officer for all the schools in McAllister.
Well, you start thinking about in the state, let's say. Let's leave it up to the state of Oklahoma, right? Well, the state of Oklahoma doesn't do a real great job, period. You know what I mean? Administratively or whatever you want to say. It's one of the poorest states in the union. You know what I mean? The economy's handled bad. There's a lot of things going on. So you got to look at it like the cost across the board. Because a school like Oklahoma or like Wilburton, let's say, they get a lot of their funding from the state. Okay, well, they get their funding from the government, right? And it's done by how many kids do you have there? So you're fighting a money issue as much as you are anything. Of course, any politician you go, well, do you want my kid to be safe or not? And of course, they're going to go, well, of course we do. But at the end of it, it's about money. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you'll have, there's 18,000 people in McAllister, and I don't even know how many kids are in the school system. But you go, well, there's going to be automatically, unfortunately, more money allocated to a school that's got more kids in it. You know what I'm saying? Now, as far as an individual school and how they're going to pay for that, I'm not saying they shouldn't have it. I'm saying the main reason that I can see.
Well, we know why they don't. We know why, but he's saying they should.
Right.
I mean, they should figure out a way to put a resource officer in every single school, no matter what. And if there's a certain amount of kids in the school, if there's 1 to 500 and maybe 1 per 500, and if there's more than 500 kids, 2. You know what I mean? I don't know. Well, whatever number. I'm just saying. There's one resource officer in McAllister to cover. I think there's only one to cover all the schools. So if something were to happen, across town, and he or she is at the high school or whatever, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem.
Well, you got to look at it like this: the guy in was it El Paso? Which one was it? What shooting was it? They found him within a minute of it being reported. There was a cop in the area, and this guy was dead inside of a minute of it being reported. The shooter with all the body armor and all the extra mags and all that dude was dead.
That was the one in Ohio.
Okay.
The one they caught the guy in El Paso alive.
Okay,
yeah,
and this guy's dead in a minute.
Yeah.
So the answer ain't resource officers. The answer is your child needs to be paying attention to what's going on. And my children do. I started on them when they were little bitty kids. Look, if you see somebody, you know what I'm saying? And you can say all you want to, well, you shouldn't have to do that with your kids. But guess what, dude? That don't change it.
Right.
It's just like teaching them not to cross the street without looking both ways. Same principle of there ain't nobody out there looking out for your kid but your kid and you. You know what I'm saying? So you could put 10 officers, but this dude starts mowing people down. Well, somebody was that first person that got shot. You know what I mean? This dude was able to kill several people before, in a minute, within a minute of it being reported, this guy's dead. And he still killed 9 and injured, 20-something in that same shooting?
There still needs to be a good guy with a gun, regardless.
I think just the presence would help. It's not going to totally do away with it, like you're saying, Lucas, but it could deter it. It could, if they know that there's a guy behind that door somewhere in that hall or in a classroom somewhere that's got a gun and he's going to fire back, that might make them think twice.
That kind of brings me another point about teachers being armed. What do you feel about that?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No, I don't. Not unless they have extensive training.
Well, that's
extensive training
because
there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with carrying a firearm, in my opinion, and when you're in that particular setting, I don't like it unless I say I don't like I said, unless this person has extensive training, continual training. I mean, we're talking about hand-to-hand combat. I mean,
Well, it brings me back. It brings me to the point, like if I'm at the movies, I think about this often. If I'm at the movies and there's a shooter, right, an active shooter, he starts shooting at the place, I'm probably if I'm not gonna get killed by the shooter, I'm probably gonna get killed by somebody that's got a weapon on them that has no training and just starts shoot. You know what I mean? I know that I'm like, oh gosh, I got to position myself. Now, when I go to the movies, I try to position myself in the right part of the theater. Mm-hmm. It's in my mind at all times. Every time I go to the theater,
I want to see the entrance.
I want to see the entrance.
I have to set to where I can see everybody that's walking in there.
Yes, and I want to sit to where I'm not going to catch one from somebody that's, you know what I mean? And I'm not against people obviously carrying a weapon, but you need to know how to shoot that weapon. You need to know how to handle that weapon. And even so, you don't know how you're going to react when in those situations.
There's just a lot of questions about what you said about, teachers carrying. Well, okay, where are they going to carry it at? I mean, on their hip?
Well, I think it should be in I don't really know. I've kind of thought about that too. I also think that all the doors need to have some kind of locking mechanism where they can, boom, lock the doors down. And then you've got what if the shooter's in the room and they can't get out, or the people can't get out? There's no right answer to it. There's no right answer, but if you've got, maybe if you've got some kind of,
it's just okay. Say for an example, that happened. Okay, say there was a shooting in a school, and it was in a school where my kid was at, and I get there, I want to go in there.
Absolutely, that's why we were trained.
I'm taking my fire.
Yeah.
And if those doors are locked, how the heck am I going to get in there? And there's somebody in there mowing people down.
Yeah.
And they're not letting nobody in there.
Well, the officer in Florida that just got indicted for that one shooting in Florida where he ran out of the school, as a cop or a police officer, you really don't know how you're going to react. You like to think that you're going to react.
You should be mentally trained to want to go stop the threat.
And if you're not, take the badge and the gun off.
Yeah, and go do something else.
Do something else. I'm not going to say you're less of a man, I guess, but if you don't have it, you don't have it.
So it goes back to, and you'll know this, how many times when we were having our meetings or whatever at the sheriff's office, how many times did I say, we have been fortunate that we haven't had something bad happen? There's going to be a day when something's going to happen. We're going to take fire. Something's going to happen. Thank God that we didn't.
Yep.
But I always knew that possibility was there.
Absolutely.
And I always didn't feel 100% comfortable with some of the guys that we had with us. And one of them for sure.
Yes.
I mean, he would crap down both legs if he just, I don't know. But anyway, that's beside the point. So, but yes, whoever is carrying the firearm needs to be trained, and they need to be mentally prepared to stop a threat at whatever cost that takes, their life, whatever. I mean, but there's people out there, just for an example, I mean, I would be furious if my kid was in that school and I saw that video of that resource officer running outside to get away.
It would take a lot out of me, especially if I lost my kid. It would take a lot out of me.
I mean, because that's what he's. supposedly there for.
Yes.
To help protect the kids. That's part of his job, part of it. Something happens, he's here to help protect. It puts parents at a certain peace of mind that I know it would put me at a certain peace of mind. And I know my wife's mind at peace, knowing that there was somebody up there that if something happened, they could do something about it or try to do something about it, rather than just nobody.
Right.
So, and that's not something that's really thought of at great detail in rural Oklahoma.
Or anywhere.
It's more thought about in the bigger schools, because they do have, of course, they've got more money and things allocated towards.
They've got more violence too that happens. You know.
Well, these guys generally want to inflict as much harm as they can in a short amount of time as they can. I mean, that's why you have them going. That's why they go shoot up schools, because they know little kids aren't going to be able to, defend themselves, or they go to a Walmart full of people that's trying to after school shop or whatever. I mean, there's a specific reason why these dudes go and shoot. They don't go to a military base and start shooting at soldiers, and they don't go to the police station and start shooting cops. There's a reason for that, and there's some specific areas that people are vulnerable in, and that's what I mean about, in my little corner of the world, which is my family and my kids. Dude, I try to make sure mentally that they're not just bopping around everywhere they go. Do you steal a little bit of their innocence? To a degree, but I mean, it's kind of that trade-off where you go, well, listen, I mean, you are a child, but listen, you need to be looking around. You got to pay attention.
Well,
everybody, I mean, when they're in 1773, kids didn't just get to walk down the street and not look at anything either. You know what I mean? There was things that would kill them just as easily. So you got to look at it as it's a dangerous place.
Also, in today's times I'll just take somebody that may live in Wilburton for an example, and let's just say their family goes to Fort Smith at least once a month for years. How many of those kids riding in that car could actually tell you how to get from Wilburton to Fort Smith?
Not very many.
Right. And that's part of the problem. They're focused, their minds are focused on something totally other than traveling down the road and paying attention to where I'm going. It's all on their iPad, cell phone, watching a movie, and they could be 16 years old, 15 years old, and you say, okay, we're going to go to Fort Smith. You're going to tell me how to get there. And they'll be, I don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
You're the one that always drives.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like Amy told me yesterday. She started telling me a story about Ethan, and he was like, hey, you don't got to tell him, and she's like, yeah, I do, and so she's like, I come out of Walmart, and Ethan's 16 years old. She goes, I come out of Walmart, and there's cops everywhere around the car. And they've got a guy, I guess, on the ground or whatever. And I'm not sure if they had their guns drawn or whatever, but they have him cuffed, and they're about to cuff him or whatever. Something was going on, right? Something bad. And Ethan is leaned back in the car on his phone, and this is happening maybe 10 feet, I think she said, from him. And he had no clue. Now, he said, I saw a cop car, and 5 minutes later, I saw another cop car. So I raised up and looked around and saw nothing. So he had no idea that this was going on. Now, listen, I've helped raise this kid. You know what I mean? And in this situation, it's not funny to me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, I taught you better than that, And I preach it, constantly preach it. If anything else that I preach, that's the most. I'm like, you have to constantly be aware of your surroundings. If you see a cop or a bunch of cops throw a dude on the ground, you have to know that this is going on around you. Now, like you said, you're not going to know everything. You're not going to be able to, get away from everything that happens, but you need to be aware of what's going on. Keep your head on a swivel.
A 16-year-old boy needs to be paying attention to what's going on around him.
Yes.
Kids have got to learn.
And I'm not ragging on him.
No, I don't mean that towards him either.
I know.
Kids have got to learn.
Just want to point that out.
Survival skills. And kids might be able to completely tear down an iPhone and put it back together, but that's not going to keep them alive.
Right.
And that's that's an issue that we face today in kids, is they might be able, but is what they know of any significance in a dire emergency to keep them alive, to help them survive something that's happening? No.
As a babysitter, when that device is like what you use to distract them so that you can go do your thing or whatever, then you run into those kids that are oblivious to what's going on around them. And that, to me, that's an issue for sure. You know, I mean, now I love technology. You know I do.
Yeah,
and I don't even mind my kids using it. But it's never been used as a babysitter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We got uses for it, and some of them are fun, and some of them are real.
Right.
You know, but like you said, it depends on the way you're using it. You know,
Yes.
I mean, my kids grew up right here in McAllister, for God's sakes, but they know how to do a few things. Maybe not everything. I'd definitely like for them to be a little more savvy on a few things, like working on vehicles, first one thing and another like that. And that's on me. You know, I didn't spend enough time necessarily.
Yeah, but like you said, that's going away. You're not going to learn how to. You're not going to have to know how to work on a vehicle.
Right.
You know.
Hopefully, he makes enough
on.
money, he'll get somebody to work on it, and he'll be doing something or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with working on vehicles. It's getting to be a thing where you got to be trained.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be trained to be able to work on them. So, I like I said, at least we're starting discussions. To me, this gets people thinking.
Which brings me back to when we were in junior high. We had a science teacher that. That's why I was smiling earlier, because you're kind of doing you were saying something serious earlier, and I started smiling because you were kind of doing the mannerisms like him. And I only had one request of you coming on, is that you had to do an impression of the Mr. Fescus. Listen, before I'm not at all making fun of Mr. Fescus, because he was one of my favorite teachers.
Kenny Fescus, who we're talking about?
Yes.
Oh,
and
God,
Luke was real. I don't know if you've done have you done his impression lately at
No,
all?
I haven't.
That's an odd question.
No, I haven't.
He was one of the most laid back teachers, you know, we had. We had a couple of kids in our class, and him and Mr. Fazio both, you know, being science teachers, they were very mellow, very mild mannered.
He gave me one of the worst ass bustings I've ever had in my life, Kenny Fescus.
Oh, really?
Sir, yes, sir, you don't want one. You do not want one from Mr. Fescus. And I like the man. When I see him, I say hello, shake his hand.
Yeah.
How you doing? Him the same way. As men,
Right.
Yeah. You don't want, and I had plenty of them.
Really?
And I ain't forgot his, if you can tell. I've only had one from him. He'll make you remember, okay? He don't care about them rules. All right? That ass busting's going to come down on you.
What'd you do?
I was, of all things, had like 20 minutes of class left. And he's like, everybody work on your homework that I gave you or whatever, you know? Well, I'm sitting there, and instead of working on homework, I've got my shoe like this. And I'm trying to draw my shoe. I'm just goofing off. You know what I mean? I'm just not doing what he said to do. But I got my head down. I'm like, he's walking around. I didn't paying attention to him. He comes walking up behind me, and he goes,
You got to be aware of your surroundings.
He walked right up next to me, bent right down my ear, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, what are you going to say? I mean, there's the blank piece of paper with a tennis shoe drew on it that's not drawn well. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, drawing my shoe, you know. And he's kind of like my dad in that you don't elaborate with him because he don't care, you know what I mean? Not really. He's like, go out in the hallway, just like that. And I was like, all right, go out in the hallway. He went and got Mr. Lessel, who was across the hallway from him in the junior high, and lit me up, son. 2 licks, as hard a licks as I've ever had in my lifetime. He said, now, whenever I tell you to do your work, you do your work in my class. I was like, all right. And in the inside, I was crying like a little baby. But outside, I was like, all right, cool. But he lit me up.
So did it work?
No. It did in his class. I
Well, that's what
straightened
I'm
up
saying.
right in his class. Yeah.
You didn't draw no more shoes in that class.
No, I
did you?
didn't. I drew plenty of them in other ones, but not his. But anyway, that was my Kenny Fescus story. Good dude, though.
Very
I really
good
liked
dude.
him.
Yeah, one of the most memorable teachers that I had in junior high. I really liked him. So
you gonna do the impression?
I'll try to do the impression. So, and there's going to be people watching this that are going to go, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So he was hard to get riled. He was pretty laid back for the most part, but
Can I video this from my perspective over here?
I don't care what you do. I mean, it's videoed right there.
Yeah, but it's from the side.
So, I thought Lucas was going to say it. You know, he would give his lecture or whatever, and then it'd be the last 15 minutes of class or whatever. And he would, you always had those questions at the end of the chapters, and he really liked to put that fist in his hand when he talked to you. And he'd say, "Okay, now you got your blue questions." And he'd say, "Now let's all get on them blue questions and get that done before end of class." And he'd say, "Now, no, sir. Now you're going to have to do your blue questions." So everybody would do their work. Well, somebody over would mess up, and he'd go. And I can't remember who it was. There was a girl in our class. Well, we were supposed to be doing our blue question. For some reason, she got up out of her desk.
I can tell you who it is, but I won't say any names.
And he said, "Now, sit down." And I mean, it was like she looked up, and it was like her eyes got real big, and she's like, "Okay." And now I told you, you got your blue questions, and we're going to do them. And it was just like, I remember him taking somebody outside and giving them a spanking. I don't remember who it was, but I was in one of his classes when he did that. But he liked to really put that right there. And when he talked, "Now, no, sir. No, sir." And he would do that like if you'd do class discussions, and then I thought I was real smart. I'd answer something and it was way off. "Now, no, sir. No, sir, that's not quite. No, sir.
That is it. That is 100% it.
I'm sorry, but that's not it, Luke." but it was always, you got your blue questions in the back of your chapter. Well, let's do our blue questions first. But yeah,
I told you.
But that one is like, "Now sit down." I mean, he was. I thought, dang, he's fixing to punch a hole in his hand, And boy, she looked. Everybody just kind of like, "What the world," But it was, I really liked Kenny in his class. I still see him every once in a great while, and he always says hi.
Man, I told you, dude.
That was perfect.
I told you.
And I agree 100%.
Blue questions.
I forgot about it.
Those
See, I knew it was
blue
something.
questions.
I couldn't remember what it was. It was something we were supposed to be doing at the end of class.
And it was blue questions.
When he caught me.
Yeah, at the end of the chapter, you had blue questions because they were always in blue lettering. You got your blue questions to do now.
That's just like him, man. That is crazy.
Now, no, sir. No, sir. No.
Yeah, he asked very little of you, but what he did ask, he expected.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good times.
That dude is. I appreciate you doing that because that brings him right back here. I mean, and I've talked to him a bunch of times, and he still knows me whenever I see him out somewhere.
I always wonder if he remembered me.
I bet you he does. I mean, this dude is like, "How you doing?" Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, "Hi."
Well, I hadn't seen him in a long time, and then I run into him probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I hadn't seen him in quite a while, and he, "Luke, is that you?" And I said, "Yeah, Mr. Fesky." "I thought that was you." "How you doing?"
Yeah.
That's very funny. That's awesome.
That is one of the best impressions I've ever seen of anybody in real life.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I told you. I wasn't making it up.
I wish people knew him. I hope everybody that sees this knows him so they can go, like me, I was sitting there going, "Wow, this is crazy." That was awesome. That was incredible.
I gave Ben a hard time over this whole deal because right after I had heard, I guess it got put out on social media or something that you were going to start doing this. I said, "I've got to be a part of that." I told Ben that, and then y'all have had 9 other Jake legs up here.
We wanted you. Well,
we
haven't had that many guests. This is just our 10th episode, but some of them we've done by ourselves.
Okay, well, y'all have had X amount of Jake
You would know
legs
that if you
up
actually
here
listened to
me. It. But I've enjoyed it. I hope that me and Ben kind of talked a little bit before about we started here before you got here, Lucas, and he had already said that that's already in the works. So I won't say it to ruin the fun for people that don't know. But like I said, I've enjoyed it. I hope what we've talked about hasn't all been stupid and somewhat productive. And like Lucas said, it starts a discussion. I can talk about a lot of different things. We've only talked about a few things tonight, but it's been 3 hours of just a few things. So
that's the way it happens.
I hope sometime maybe I can come back or something. And
definitely
we can, discuss
more things.
Yeah, because I saw your dad one day and told him, I said, we're wanting to have Luke on our podcast. I was telling him we're doing a podcast, blah, blah. He's like, what is that? And I was telling him, and I said, we're wanting to have Luke on it, have him talk about it. He goes, what's he going to talk about on there? I said, well, I don't know. That's why we're going to have him on there and see what he wants to talk about.
Tell a little funny story. One night we were all sitting downtown Wilburton at the Hand Stop number 1, and Luke goes, man, you and Colby should go race. Oh, God. And I had a truck, F-150, real fast, real fast. And Colby had a Toyota.
It was not known around town to be fast at all.
It was very known to be fast, but Colby had this Toyota truck, right? And I was like, dude, I don't even want to waste my time, okay? This, and Colby was like, let's do it, So, all right, let's go. It's a race I knew I was going to win. So, it's a race I wish I didn't win. So we got out there on the drag strip, took off.
I remember this.
I'm going about 100, at least 100, and I smoked a deer, and it flew over Colby's truck. Mm-hmm. And I was real upset. And not at anybody, but I was
the heck out of that Ford.
Yes.
Are we talking about the blue and white Ford?
Yes. So the next morning, long story short,
it's probably still got the same damage on it.
It does.
It's probably never been
fixed. It does. I pull up to my grandpa's shop to go to work, and I went out in there and I was like, Papa, I hit a deer, And I had an uncle that was in there, and he's like, if you hit a deer, there's going to be deer hair everywhere. And I was like, oh, gosh. I'd never really looked at the damage close enough because I was thinking, okay, now there's not going to be any deer hair.
Yeah, everybody's going to think I did something else.
Right. And but there was a lot of deer hair there. So, but yeah, I never did fix the damage. Not yet. I want to get that thing going again.
That truck would do 100 through the quarter, 100 miles an hour.
I'm sure we were going over the quarter mile. We had just been going the whole way of.
I remember a time.
The whole road. We were just racing.
When Paul thought he was a motorcycle rider, and he was showing out in the Roy's parking lot trying to ride a wheelie, and it didn't work out too good for him.
Wasn't Roy's.
It wasn't Roy's parking lot where was it at?
It was in front of Robert's Cave.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Even worse.
That's right.
On Memorial Day, thousands of people out there hanging out. My next door neighbor knocks on my back door a couple days later, and he goes, Ben, was that you?
I saw you out there. Are you dead?
He goes, was that you? I said, yeah. And
he was so
dude. Fun. He goes, I didn't see it because I was facing the water. He said, but there was hundreds of people. He goes, my dad saw it. There was hundreds of people racing towards the highway to help you out. And he goes, and when we got up that little hump, he goes, all of a sudden we heard your bike start and took off. I said, yeah. And dude, I got 100. When I got on the way home, I got to around 140 miles an hour on that bike. I didn't even know the damage on my bike at all. All I knew is I needed to get home. So I ran down the highway, pulled up my bike, and you gotta, when you wreck a bike, it won't start. So you gotta turn the key off, turn it back on, it'll start right up. And I did. My glasses fell off. Didn't have a helmet on, but anyways, I had a lot of damage to my body. But
we used to drive around in town.
It all worked out.
You had Ben, you had Dustin, Israel, and there was somebody else. I can't remember that. But anyway, they all had motorcycles, and they'd cruise town, on their motorcycles. And we got to where we started calling them the Wolf Pack. And we'd yell, we'd roll our windows down and howl at them when they'd pass us on. Oh! It was so funny. The wolf pack.
Nobody had a crotch rocket like me though, so it kind of sucks because no one, everybody's just like wanting to cruise. I'm like, dude, I want to go out and do, I want to go fast.
I remember Dustin. He had that. It was that little. I think it was like a Suzuki, like that little red Suzuki. It's like a 500 or something. It's small. Dustin's a big old kid, and everybody's like, rum, rum, rum,
big old
and
kid.
taking off. Rum, rum. Oh, Dustin, he reared that old thing out, rum, rum, and he took him rum, rum. I laughed so hard. It was so funny. Oh, Dustin.
Now, was you there when I sunk my truck in the water? You were there, weren't you?
Where was that?
I could have swore that was you that pulled me
in the
out.
ditch.
Yes,
in front of Dollar Store.
Yeah, the old ditch.
Yeah,
now they fixed it where it don't.
Yeah,
really...
I forgot about that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And I saw a meme the other day. People said, "Don't worry when you come to Oklahoma. Don't worry. If you have a flat tire or whatever, or if you get stuck in the mud, or if you get stuck in a ditch or whatever, don't worry because you're going to have 4 or 5 people show up right off the bat." Just chomping at the bit to help you out. Help you. They want to show off their 4-wheel drive. Well, Jeremy Varnell, Frog, saw me.
Haven't thought about him in 100 years.
Saw me get on it out of the car wash. I hammered down, and my tires were just going at it. And I was like, yeah. And all of a sudden, I started spinning. Just.
He was harvesting cattails, is what he was doing.
Yeah. And that ditch filled up to the highway back then.
I remember.
And I went right off in it.
Yep.
Literally,
I forgot about that.
Right off in it. I had to swim back across basically to get up. And Jeremy, he was like, he just stopped and he saw it and he goes, he was like, oh my God. And I was like, dude, take me to town. We're already in town. I was like, take me to Handstop. I got to get somebody to come get. So we show up. Luke's there. Some other guy. Every 4-wheel drive in the county was sitting at Handstop parking lot. And I was like, oh God, guys, I just sucked my truck. We got to go pull it out. So everybody came and pulled me out. Okay, but
how did you hook onto it with it underwater like that?
I think I don't remember. I don't remember exactly how.
I don't remember either.
It was very cold outside.
Yeah, it was
very cold, and no one was going to hook it up for me. I had to do it myself.
Chris Turner sunk a truck in City Lake all the way under. Okay, when he swam out, when we got there.
Oh, I had water all in my
Jeff
cabin.
Marshall about this because we were sitting there. Me and Jeff were sitting there talking to Handystop whenever they came and said Chris just sunk his truck in the lake because he kept a jet ski in the back of. Instead of having a trailer, he just back up there and dump it out of the back of his truck and ride it. Well, his clutch went out, I think.
Oh gosh!
In a 5-speed. Anyway, it backed out in the water and sank. We were like, oh man, it sank. We get out there, we're like, where? So he goes swimming out there because Gary Bates came out there to pull it out. Swimming out there to the truck, and he's standing on the cab of the truck in knee-deep water. That's how far it went out in there. And then he had to dive down. That's why I asked you how you hooked onto it, because he had to dive down with the hook and hook it on so that Gary could pull it out.
That had to be done. Here's the difference, and I'm sure he had to be towed. The difference was... it was running when it went in the water. Well, the old Ford was running when it went in the water as well, but when it was pulled out, I just got in the driver's seat and took off. Because that's what the Blue Oval will do for you. Oh, ask not what the Blue Oval can do for you, what you can do for the Blue Oval. I didn't do good by my Blue Oval.
Why would you start a truck and drive it off if it's full of water? Why would you do that?
Because that's how much I believed in that truck. And I went right home. I drove it right home. And, of course, my grandpa woke me up the next morning laughing. I was like... What? I mean, this happened like at 2 o'clock in the morning. It seemed like it was late, and my grandpa wakes me up at 7, and he already knows.
Engine was submerged.
He already knew what had happened. The whole truck was, bruh.
The engine was submerged in water.
Listen, do you know what the blue and white Ford pickup could do?
I know what internal combustion is. That's what I know. Okay, I don't give a crap what symbols on the front of it. I know what an internal combustion engine. If it's dunked underwater all the way, you don't get in and drive it away.
It drove away. And that truck right now has been sitting for a long time. It's been sitting since 04, 05. And I guarantee you I can take a battery out there and put some fresh gas in it right now, and it will start. In fact, I started it when Scotty died. Trent and I went out there, and we started the truck. It started right up. And Trent was like, golly, man.
But don't try to play the radio or the air conditioner or any other thing That's the way those trucks are. They will run. I'll give you that, but nothing else will work on them.
So you reminded me of something. I just want to say this real quick, and I don't even know why. But we talked about earlier about my alcohol consumption when I was younger, and honestly, a lot of things that I honestly do not remember, which is sad. But when you said City Lake, do you remember the night we went to City Lake?
Oh God, dude, I had a lot of nights out there. Which one specifically?
Do you remember? I can't remember. It was me and you, and there was a couple girls. I don't even remember who they were.
Oh yeah.
And we went out there, stripped down to our tidy whities, and was swimming. And all I can remember, I just remember this. I remember being out. Like I said, I just remember Lucas. I don't even remember who else. I don't even know. It might have been Dustin. I don't remember. But anyway, I just remember laying there, all my clothes laying there, nothing but my tidy whities on, laying on that boat ramp, looking up at the stars and just, I don't know, singing something stupid.
I don't remember either,
but it was odd.
I would have never thought you would have done that.
Oh, I did.
I unfortunately had many times like that, but I do remember that because it was a little bit unusual for you to be there.
Right.
And that's what got, not you specific. I mean, you were just kind of like, of people that I've done that stuff with, you weren't one of them.
I tell you,
all the time.
just hit me. It just hit me what song we kept singing.
I don't remember that.
It was that Montgomery Gentry song.
Oh God!
The House on the Corner.
Oh yeah,
The Lonely and Gone.
I love that. Yeah. I used to love that song.
Yeah,
man.
and I mean, I just remember looking up there singing. I was pretty much yelling. I think. I don't think I was singing. I was just kind of like.
Was it still in high school?
No,
I remember.
High school.
I remember two females for sure. I'm not going to mention any names, but
I don't even.
Two of them
I don't even remember who they were.
Because I was very glad that they were stripping down. You know what I'm saying? I was like.
Did they have their tidy whities on too?
That's one of the main reasons why I remember it. You know what I mean? Is I was like, you know, I mean, this was definitely one you didn't get to see do that very often. So, you know, you had your regulars who, anytime you were around them, you go, let's go swimming. They were like, pull off all their stuff. Then you had these that never did, and then this was one of those nights where it worked out. You know, so
it worked out.
Goodness.
I hate, and dude, there's so many. When I go to thinking about stupid things like that I did. You know, I feel like I was, you know, had an average life, you know, but the time from me graduating high school until I got married and had Gavin.
Not average.
You know, have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy? I just watched a little bit of it yesterday. I've never seen the movie before, but that was, if you want to get an idea of what my life was like in those few years, it was that. It was just stupid. Nothing good, nothing productive, nothing, just dumb.
Just living.
Full of stupid stories where I did things like sing House on the Corner of Lonely and Gone in the middle of the night at City Lake naked or in my underwear. Whatever.
on the boat ramp.
Yeah.
It's a wonder I didn't drown.
It's a wonder Kirkland didn't come up and catch y'all.
No, it was a pretty quiet night.
So, did a cop come out there that night? Somebody came out there one night and we were there and left us alone.
I don't remember.
They talked to us and left.
Really?
You know, as we were out there not bothering anybody.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
There was a few guys that were cool. I didn't really have that many problems. Of course, everybody knew us. In those days, it was like the same people. You know what I mean? It was always, you could always count on, no matter where they busted us, it would always be the same group of people, and they knew what we were doing. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, these guys are out here drinking and not bothering anybody.
Yeah.
There's so many stories. We could just go on and on.
I'm holding back.
I try not to. Some of those, you know, I think they're funny, and then I get to thinking, I don't want to tell. What if my kids start taking cues off of some of this ignorant crap? I tell them all the time, like, listen, no matter what you hear about your old dad, don't do what I did, man. Telling you, don't do it.
Well, I guess we wrap it up for now.
Yeah. Again, like I said, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for being here. Like I said, we wanted you to come on way sooner, but the air conditioner, you know, we were robbed of the copper outside, and so we didn't have air conditioning.
That was a big thing. That's had us held back for a while.
Yeah,
that was
for sure. Because
we came in here and did two, and I'm telling you, didn't want no part of it. You know what I mean? Like, we whined about it the entire time because it sucked.
Yeah, it did.
It was hot. I think it might have been hotter in here than it was outside.
Anything you want to plug? Because I know something you need to plug, but go ahead.
Okay. So no, I mean, I would probably have to sleep on the couch if I didn't.
I was fixing to say.
If I didn't say
Yes.
this.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say this. So if you're out there listening or watching, for all your real estate needs, you can always call my wife or get in touch with her on social media. Brandy Underwood, United Country Realty. I can't think of her email off the top of my head, but you can always reach out to her for all your real estate needs.
We need to team up.
That's a good one. That was a very good one.
Yeah.
That's better than most people do. Most people are like this. I don't know. I mean, you can look at this if you want to or whatever. That's
Brandy Underwood, United Realty.
United Country.
United Country. Gosh,
Yep.
dang it, I ruined it.
Yeah. She's things are actually going fairly well.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
She's been
Good.
pretty busy. Actually, of course, you know where we live. I mean, it's not just jamming, but I mean it's been pretty good to her
Now,
as
does
of recent.
she sell any in McAllister area?
She can sell anywhere in the state
But
of
does she
Oklahoma.
have any listings in McAllister?
I don't know. Honestly, I do not know. I know
There's a lot of houses for sale. In McAllister.
McAllister's a little different animal in that sense than a real estate sense. It's just a little different everywhere, but McAllister's pretty. It's kind of a cutthroat deal over here.
Very crowded with people that are doing that.
Yeah.
Seems like.
It is, but there's some room for improvement. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think she could do really well.
Yep. Well, she's always looking. Whether you're looking to sell or buy, she can sure help you out. I've seen her work a lot of things out and make people happy. So that's what it's all about. Do you have anything you want to plug, Paul?
Oh,
I mean,
God,
besides
guaranteed.
my business, you know.
Get it
like,
right.
What
this
What
time.
is your business, by the way?
What do you mean? What's my business?
Murder and
I
business
mean, I
is
don't
good.
know. I mean, what do you do now? I mean, I don't know.
Not anything.
I'm an insurance agent. I own my own agency now.
Okay.
What do you mean? Okay.
So here's my question.
Okay.
Why do I not know this?
I figured you did. I mean,
How would I know this, Ben?
Well, your wife's a realtor, right? And I'm not going to say realtor because that's not correct. I don't believe. Used to. I thought it was right, but it's realtor. But I know when I posted that we were going to do a podcast, it was like 3 minutes later you text me. It was not very long after that. So I figured, I had already posted several times that I was opening my own insurance.
Well, you would have
agency.
think as many conversations as you and I have had over insurance.
I know a lot because I used to have your insurance with the other.
That you
But here's the thing, honestly,
would have specifically got
Yes.
on your phone
Yeah.
and texted me
I
and
agree.
said something.
and I messed up, and I've done that with a lot of my customers because when I left where I was before, I told everyone, listen, I'm going to be right back into it. Give me time.
There's some legal things. I'm about to go to jail. When I get out, we'll work on it.
No, I tried to buy another agency, and that fell through. And so I had to get back to my other business, and the years rolled by, and I didn't get back into what I want to do. You know what I mean? Because I just hadn't. So I kind of felt like I let my customers down by not getting right back into it. And so I thought, it was the wrong thing for me to do. I should have just let everybody know, hey, I'm back in the game. But in another sense, I just felt like, man, I kind of let them down because here I am. It's like 4 years later that I'm getting back into it. And I thought they're not gonna really hear me out, even though all my customers before knew that I was 100%, dedicated to my job and dedicated to them, and professional and all that. So that's why. That's the honest to God truth.
That's still not a very good excuse for not
No, it's not. Like I said,
calling or texting me.
I should have let everybody know, because I had a lot of business that I let go that I didn't want to let go. That's just the way it went. And then I, waited for years. And another guy I know, he's been trying to talk me into it. He's like, Ben, you gotta do this. Just go do it, And I'm like, you know how hard it is to start? Brandy knows, to start doing your own thing, and not being able to just buy a book of business and have that money rolling in right off the bat, it's hard. It's not easy. And so that's why it took me this long to do it, to finally just say, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to do it. I'm really good at it already. I know both sides of the game. I know the adjusting side, the claim side. I know that side really well, of course. And I know, this side really well. So let's do it. Screw it. I'm going to do it. And so here I am. I'm doing it. And I'm saving people money.
I'm glad you're doing it. I'm proud of you.
I know everybody says that, but really any quote, just about any quote I've given.
Well, I saved a lot of money.
I save them money.
I switched to Geico.
By Geico. I knew that was coming. So anyways, Blackline Insurance Group. Visit blacklineinsurancegroup.com. I've got big things on the pipeline, just so you know. And it's going to be awesome. Brandy Underwood at United Country. And that's based in Wilburton. That's owned by
Joe Mack
McAllister.
It's J Mack Realty.
J Mack Realty.
I just talked to him in Subway in Wilburton this last week, too.
I haven't seen that guy in a very long time.
He ain't changed. He's still the same dude when I talk to him.
Same upbeat, bubbly personality guy?
Yeah.
He's always been real nice. Yeah, always real nice.
Good guy.
Yeah. Brandy Underwood at United Country Realty. What do you want to plug?
Luke Holmes, Lucas Johnson on my stupid YouTube channel.
Yeah, you gotta type in Luke Combs space Lucas Johnson and you'll find his YouTube.
Yep, got
channel.
told again a day ago
He's singing
that
the
I
songs.
should be on American Idol.
Not The Voice. American Idol. I mean, I think they had a good season. I didn't watch it.
I think I'm going to have to start a YouTube channel.
You should.
Yeah, you should. Are you going to sing gospel?
I'm going to sing everything, Ben.
Okay.
I'm going to sing everything.
All right. You should.
I'm pretty old school country, and there's not a lot of new people out there that I really like at all, period. But you know what? And Lucas will appreciate this. I think he will.
He don't appreciate nothing.
If you go back and listen to country music, and somebody that had just a flat out authentic sound, and he was new at the time, but he was old school vibe, old school tone, old school sound, and he just passed away like a year ago. But that's Daryl Singletary.
Oh
yes.
yeah.
And I can listen. I love his song, like The Note and Old Violin. The covers that he does. Man, he really had a good tone and sound and beat to his music. And I'll get on YouTube every once in a while and just play his mix on YouTube. And Daryl Singletary was he sang a heck of a lot of good. I mean, he covered some Keith Whitley stuff. And he just, man, it was it doesn't seem like it now because he was probably 40 something when he passed away. Still don't even know really what happened, but anyway.
I don't remember. I did know at one time, but I can't remember now.
But it would shock me when I was like, Daryl Singletary died, and he was kind of like, yeah, he was famous. I mean, he had record deals and all that stuff, but it was like he was just kind of under the radar,
Low key.
Yeah, but man, he could sing. I mean, he could sing. He had a range to his voice. I mean, he could sing bass and whatever he needed to. But I just don't even. I was for the longest time. I was like a pretty big Toby Keith, but I really don't even like Toby Keith's music no more. Really.
No,
I don't. I mean, some of his new when he was first started, I like some of that.
Yes.
But like even for like the last 10 years, I'm just like that's not even. It's not even what I want to listen to, really. But.
So you'll go on YouTube and listen to Daryl Singletary or watch his videos, but you won't go on YouTube and watch our podcast.
I didn't know that your podcasts were on YouTube.
And I sing a couple of songs on the first two. I haven't done any more after that, but I did
He
sing.
sucks.
Yeah.
Huh?
He sucks.
I'm bad at it.
I've been trying to get him
That's
to come
for
back
real.
on and do it, but he.
I've been working on a song.
Voice. Oh, you've been.
I have been working on one. I've been working on getting myself over all these. I've had like new allergies here in the last year or so that's really been messing with me. So I'm getting that worked out, and I've been working on a song. I got one. Don't worry about it. Okay?
Is it your song or is it?
No, God, no.
When are we gonna hear some of your stuff?
Lucas, find a couple more people, and we'll put a quartet together.
Okay.
Hey, when you brought up the use of the
Lucas
gospel,
can sing the lead, and I'll sing the bass.
Yeah.
Can I sing soprano? So when I went to Connecticut,
You can sing tenor.
when I went to Connecticut, I had a rental car. It was an Audi, and I mainly listened to in Rhode Island. I mainly listened to classical music, and I liked it a lot.
Why did you do that? Because you were driving an Audi or something? Why would you do that to
it was
yourself?
just on the radio, and I was like, wow. So I was like driving the countryside and that I don't know. But it was great. I liked it. So
I've went through times when I liked it.
I'm definitely not laughing at you for listening to the gospel. You liked classical at one time?
Yeah, I went through a couple of stages where I listened to it quite a bit. Yeah. Trying to get an appreciation for it. But that's any music, though. I've tried it all.
Yeah.
Like legit, pretty much anything, any type of music that I can find, I've tried to listen to it before.
I tried
may
Red
not
Dirt.
be
Well,
able to.
everybody's got their own jive. You
Yeah.
know, everybody's got what.
I tried
what
Red
triggers
Dirt,
them,
and I could not do it.
I liked some Red Dirt.
Mm-mm.
Not near all of it, but I liked some of it. Heck yeah. Heck yeah, dude. There's some decent stuff out there. I don't really care for any of the stuff now, per se. Like Cole Wetzel, people like that. I don't really like that dude very much. I mean, he's all right, but
I don't even know who that is.
he's kind of a new age Red Dirt guy or whatever.
Oh, yay. We got people that are continuing on with Red Dirt. Let it die, people. Let it die.
It ain't never going to, man. As long as there's rural Oklahoma, somebody's going to be listening to it.
Brandy Underwood, United Country Realty, YouTube. Put in Luke Combs, Lucas Johnson in the search bar. You'll go to his page. Blackline Insurance Group at blacklineinsurancegroup.com. I offer just about everything you can think of insurance-wise. And I'm, like I said, if you're a customer, if you're not a customer, if you have any insurance-related questions or any other questions for that matter, you can send me a message.
I'm going to send you
Email.
some questions.
Okay, good.
I've got some.
You do?
Yes.
And I'll answer them on the podcast next
Even
time.
if they're not insurance related, you'll answer them?
Yeah.
All right, it's on.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And I love your body. Kinda.